BIC episode number 95. Do you know what day it is, Eric? Do you know what day it is?
It's Monday.
It's not just Monday, Eric.
No?
It's Mayo Monday. The Patriots didn't win. That's okay. The Mayo Man did not win. But Malik Willis threw for more touchdowns. I think he tripled his.
too.
He ran for a touchdown. Like there were touchdowns, plural touchdowns.
Touchdowns?
We have to give a shout out. I don't mean to interrupt, but we even have the football connoisseur himself, and we have it in writing. Paul, aka Boomer, who said Malik Willis. I'm paraphrasing, but it was Malik Willis looks legit. Paul said a quarterback looks legit. And
this may or may not work out because I think he was also a fan of Will Levis, and I want to touch on that. I want to touch on that. I promise everyone. I promise we will not bog you down. We're all football amateurs, so I promise we won't spend too much time on it. But I do want to take a couple of minutes to talk about it, and I will angle this into the sports car realm. However, with all that said, to Eric's agreement, I think that means we have no choice. We must declare it Mayo Monday on this BIC podcast episode. I love the smell of a good Mayo Monday in the morning. It's very exciting. It's very thrilling. It's fantastic. It's glorious.
Oh, yeah.
Whew. Yeah. It's the scent of greatness, some would say. But here's where we are. So let's talk about a couple of things. We'll touch on a little bit of football. But before I do, let's get into the last week's Silly Card of the Week. We do have the results, a record turnout. We thank you once again in the record turnout. 41 votes for last week, so we thank you for that. We appreciate your participation in this. We had 3 cards. We had Ready for the Pile Driver, Stan Musial playing pool and being very classy. I have grabbed a scotch in honor of Stan Musial and his classiness. And the 1957 Topps Making Faces Boston Bruins card. And the winner, Justice for Troy Dan, is Ready for Pile Driver. Brandon, take a bow.
With my wrestling card.
You underestimate the power of the wrestling. You got to respect the wrestling, my man.
You just, you can't not vote for, a picture of a man's groin in another man's face,
Don't lie to me. You totally voted for it.
Once you get that, it's a win-win,
Eric, don't lie to me. You totally voted for that. I voted for my own because, me. Yeah. I'm going to vote for mine. But you totally voted for the pile driver. Don't lie.
Listen, in this country, in the U.S. of A.
Allegedly, go on.
We do not have to tell you who we voted for.
Indeed, thou doth protest not enough. So that's all I'm saying. Just all I'm saying. That was not a denial, Brandon. I did not hear a denial. But nonetheless, those are the results. We thank you for, again, this is the closest thing we get to democracy. Between the North American countries, this is the most democratic thing we got. The votes do count. We do tally them, and we do give you the results, regardless of where they are. Stan Musial is a classy individual. He toasts you on your democratic process, and thanks you for your patronage. So we'll have the upcoming one here in a moment. So we've got that coming up from this past episode. I do think we had a couple of comments, so we'll see if I can grab them from the last episode. Not too many, but we had a couple, and we always appreciate when someone puts it in there. Josh here puts in black and white bonus coverage for the win. I did enjoy that little wrinkle. I had the little bonus section at the end all went black and white on us. It's like, I thought it'd be fun to do a little change of pace. I thought it'd be fun to do. I won't promise that every time, but when it's appropriate, it may come back. It's a fun little feature for the video portion of the podcast. CC says, Bobbles silly card pick is borderline X-rated, but nonetheless, it was a winner. You are right, CC, but it was a winner. It was a winner. So what are you going to do?
My card this week, just viewer discretion is advised. It may be borderline X-rated too. Just
wow. Just craziness. But yes, so we do appreciate it, and we'll cover our silly card of the week this week here in a moment. Real quick, I wanted to touch on a couple of quick things. Let me make a media recommendation. So this will be mostly for my Canadians. However, if you Americanos want to watch it, you're more than welcome to. On Amazon Prime, there is a new documentary that was apparently at TIFF, so the Toronto International Film Festival. So they actually released a documentary that's a 4-parter. It's all on there. So if you already have Amazon Prime, it's basically free for you. You've already got it. So you've got on there a documentary on the Tragically Hip. They've actually got it. It's called No Dress Rehearsal. So Canadian folks that are familiar with the Tragically Hip, obviously they had a long storied career here on this side of the border, and it actually goes all the way to they've got archive footage. So it was the brother of Gord Downey who actually produced the documentary, and they were able to get a ton of archive footage going all the way back to the 1980s when the band started, all the way through their career, all the way through the last concert where Gord Downey obviously finished the concert with them because he had incurable brain cancer. So Eric, I don't know if you're familiar with this. Give you a quick lesson for folks that don't know. So they declared they were going to do the last concert. They declared the brain cancer diagnosis. And he said that he was going to do one last concert in a couple of different locations around, finishing up in Kingston, Ontario, which is where the band initially started. The broadcast was simulcast on CBC, so Canadian television all the way from coast to coast, and people had viewing parties all over the place. Myself and a lot of other folks saw it. Overall, 11 million people tuned in to watch that last concert, which is a third of the country. So it'd be basically the equivalent of 110 million people tuning in the United States to watch one thing. So that one was a big one. The Prime Minister was there at the concert, and all the dignitaries were there. It was a big thing. Not a dry eye in the house. It was a big last show for them. So this documentary kind of covers the entire history of the band. If you are a fan, or if someone who enjoys it, and I will say this. One of the things they credited them for, so I'm just taking a moment. This is a 5% more mature little segment. I'm just taking a second here. But one of the things that the band was credited for, which is true, is that a lot of their music was very reflective of Canada, but a lot of different parts of it. Even one of the albums that particularly the band apparently wasn't as keen on, even covered, one of the songs was called Speed River. Speed River is a river in Guelph, Eric. So it touched on every part of the country. It would be like, it'd be like having a song. It'd be like if Kiss had a song that was called Peabody Blues, just for Eric. Think about it. Worcestershire. Think about it. Could be very exciting. But regardless, they touched on every part of the country. It is a very well done documentary. Credit to the documentarian for putting it together. And they had a lot of people that participated in it. I was very surprised once I saw all the different folks that kind of chimed in on it. Although I'm not too surprised. Dan Aykroyd was in it. They did get the Prime Minister in there. They actually got a couple of other actors. I think Will Arnett was in it. So basically a lot of different folks chimed in. One of the gentlemen from Rush was in it. They actually had a bunch of different folks that were in there. And what's interesting is the Tragically Hip had a very long career. They didn't hit in the US nearly as much as they did in Canada, although there was a very interesting moment when Tower Records, I'm not really spoiling too much, I'm just giving a little story. Tower Records apparently was willing to do a full court press promotional tour. They were going to do a concert on top of a Tower Records, and they were going to get frontline, front space basically for their CD at all the Tower Records locations internationally. It was going to be this big gigantic deal. Well, apparently they were so loyal to Sam the Record Man, who was a Canadian record retailer at the time, that they didn't want to sell out and do it. So they basically missed an opportunity that could have potentially blown them up even more in the US. As it was, they actually did a ton of tours in the US and actually sold out clubs, but they never did stadium tours. Whereas in Canada, they could do stadium tours from coast to coast around the country. And they had, a 30 plus year career. That's a very successful career by anybody's standard. So again, I'll recommend it. It's a very good documentary. If you are a fan of Canadian music or the band, then I would recommend checking it out. I wanted to make sure I said it because I watched it over the weekend and I thought it was very well done. Okay. So second thing I wanted to mention is also, well, actually we can get right into it here. Good old Mayo Monday. So shifting over, changing gears. Mayo Monday is the Patriots didn't win. Unfortunately, the Mayo Man did not win, but Will Levis was successful. So we appreciate that. That was good. Now here's my question. Speaking of the Mayo Man, Will Levis. So that kind of leads us into our Mayo Monday here conversation. I want to pose this question, and I'll share the silly card of the week here right after we talk about it, but I want to ask a question first. How many more performances is it going to take for the Mayo Man to potentially lose his gig, a la Bryce Young? And if it does, because the mistakes he's making are inexcusable. They're really bad. The turnovers are very poor. And it's one of those things you got to know you cannot be throwing away the football that way. And the thing is, obviously he was sacked 8 times. The defense did a good job. They did their job. and the offense did it well enough so they were able to win comfortably, which is, I'm appreciating it. But the point is that if he does struggle and keeps going, and it's the way he struggled, I think that made it more stand out a little bit more. If he does lose his gig, how long does it take before he enters into the chosen Rosen territory and I'm contractually and duty bound to get one of his nicer cards for some pocket change in my pocket? So, gentlemen, question, thoughts?
My thoughts are this: the way the quarterback situation is in the NFL right now, nobody's job is safe. So, if Tennessee is serious about trying to win, his job may not last very long at all. I know he played well last year, and this is kind of reverting into the I don't want to go too deep into this, but think about this if you are interested in buying some of these Topps products coming out, because remember, most of them so far have only had 4 options. One's already on the bench. We're discussing another one. Stroud has not looked great. He has been okay, but not great through.
But last season, I think solidified him. He's got a much longer rope. Like he's shown more talent than the other guys. So I think the Texans are happy with his situation. Obviously, they would like it to play better, but at the same time, they're less concerned about his talent. Whereas with Will Levis, you're concerned. Bryce Young is already on the bench, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Right now, for him, it's disastrous.
Who knows? Yeah,
but exactly.
To your point, if you seriously wanted to put him in the chosen Rosen category, that's the part I think you may have to wait a while, because I think people have spent so much money on these cards and products now that it may take a little bit longer for somebody to come to a chosen Rosen price point. So job safety is probably more likely to bench him than I would to run out and buy one of his cards.
No, for sure. But the reason I posed the question, I actually was posing the question for a reason, not because I'm too concerned about it one way or the other. Look, for my entertainment value, I'd be happy to do it. Listen, I will happily add a card of the Mailman to my collection if it's cheap enough. No problem there.
Does he really need to be an NFL quarterback, though? I mean, the man has a Hellman's contract with a fragrance.
He does.
Does he even need football? I mean, you have to. That's the important question here.
I think what you're saying is what I've been alluding to. I think the man transcends football. He is elevated beyond the game. Yeah, the scent of greatness follows him wherever he goes. I think, but what it comes down to is, again, the entertainment value notwithstanding, I think what the interesting thing is about it, you're right. And this will come into our main topic conversation. We'll talk about comps and everything. So I want you to think about this now, because we'll come back around to this idea. He's right, though, because there are folks that are invested, #invested, in here to the point that they almost cannot let it go. They don't want to throw in good money after bad. They're kind of sticking it out. It's one of those things where psychologically they're willing to just kind of sit there and eat it. They'll think, oh, well, if I don't sell, I can't lose. So it'll actually hold at a certain point. It'll drop to a certain, if he continues to play badly and gets benched or struggles or whatever the case may be. We joke about the chosen Rosen, but he had a couple of NFL stops after that. He went to Miami, didn't work out. He was on the practice squad, I think, for Cleveland or something. He had a couple of stops along the way. And it seems at this point he's not trying to get back in the NFL. But to this very day, I joke about the collection and the collection I built and everything. There are some folks who are stubbornly holding on to a few of his nicer cards, and they will not let it go for what should be, like, the guy's out of the league. Realistically, there's no prospects of him getting back in the... So it's like, I'll look at it and be like, $500 for what? Like, why? Like, what? There's no justification for this. Like, there's no value here.
No. I'll tell you the justification. The justification is quite clear. I paid $500 for this card during the pandemic, and I want my money back.
Oh, they wish they paid $500, Eric. They probably paid $5,000. That's the problem. The problem is that the $500 is already them taking a 90% pay haircut on this, and the $500 is like the last vestige of trying to scrap something out of this.
Yeah,
and it's like, I'm thinking more like a 20.
Yeah,
I'm thinking more like, and I'm being nice. I'm being real nice.
Yeah,
it's like I feel like a $20 bill is appropriate, sir. I'll slide that to the end of the table there, and I think you should take that, because at least you get something out of it. You can go buy a couple boxes of cereal. That might be about what you get out of it. Just take it. Go with God.
Yeah, there's still people that are just completely heartbroken because of pandemic prices and have lost everything and are just eating, you know, shit for breakfast every morning
Yeah,
because they just thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars behind the 8 ball because of, you know, poor decision making during a brief window that some people, me, warned the hobby about and made them aware that this was not going to maintain, and it was silly to believe so. And then as soon as the pandemic ended, everything was going to fall like a stone. And I may have even given an exact date when that began. So
So it's odd
people
you say
will
that,
warn.
Eric. I got to push back on this. Hold on. I got to push back on this. You know
People
why?
will
I got to
warn.
push back on this, Brandon. As far as I'm aware, and I've run some numbers, I've done some maths, and all my calculations tell me that the Reggie lemon market has increased by at least 450% since the pandemic. Record sales being had left, right, and center. So as far as I'm aware, there's at least one category that is booming to the fucking moon. To the moon.
you know something that I never really thought about, and I guess I mean I shouldn't say I never thought about it because I was involved in it. Um, but when Eric's sitting there talking about like the money that the people paid during the pandemic period, we look at it as the price of the card. But you know, there's another part of that element that a lot of people, I don't know if they're baking it into the price, but even if you got the card raw, the grading costs were a lot more back then too. Because those during a period when everybody was behind got pretty damn spicy for a bit. They haven't completely corrected back to pre-pandemic, but they're back down below what they were. So even that cost is baked in there. I mean, think about that for a second. How much was spent there?
For sure. And I think what's funny is that, you know, as PSA and SGC set records, like they've had record the last couple of months, they've really had some record totals. There's no incentive to go back. That's why, like,
Right.
we'll discuss this on a later discussion because it's a broader discussion than this one. I don't want to go too deep on this one.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
obviously, I'll listen to some folks and I'll listen to them have discussions about like, oh, but it's still too expensive, whatever. And I'm sitting there like, they got 1,000,000 too. They don't need your submission. Don't take it personally. They don't need your submission. It doesn't make sense to drop a price. What do they want to make it 1,500,000, 1,600,000? Like this, and then drop the price? It's like when they can make just as much money, if not more, leaving it in the current price and getting 1,000,000 too. This is business. Like we're talking business. Like your goal isn't to do 50 million cars. Your goal is to make the most money.
And they did that with extremely high prices during the pandemic, and people continue to pay.
Yeah.
Which is, the whole thing was just ridiculous. I mean, I was saying that, and I think most people that were able to take a step back and look, knew that everything that was going on was unbelievably ridiculous and it was not going to hold. But some of the things that people did and the money that was spent and the decisions that were made during that period of time were completely insane. And people are still paying the price. They have still have empty bank accounts and second mortgages on their homes and credit card debt that they'll never get out from. I mean, the stuff that people did, crazy.
Are you talking about the hobby or are you talking about your chocolate stick addiction?
Both can be true.
Are we hitting a little close to home on that one? Like, I feel like we're delving dangerously close into Friday waters here.
We're not here to talk about me.
We're also not here to talk about the past.
Both statements could be true.
Fair enough. All right. So I just some thoughts, some initial thoughts. I'd love to get some thought. By the way, again, we welcome the engagement because it's been really good, and we appreciate that you've enjoyed the silly card of the week. And I'm about to get into that right now. But I would love to get some thoughts from some of the folks listening on not even necessarily Will Levis. I'm just using him as a vehicle, as an example on this concept. For me, I'm a guy who enjoys having a couple of cards for some of these guys because it's entertaining to me. I have a Not Swell Fella Johnny Manziel duel, And it's actually kind of a fun card. I enjoy it for what it is. Obviously, I've got the Chosen Rosen PC. I get a kick out of it. Look, if Will Levis eventually becomes like a full-fledged bust, I would have no qualms about adding a kind of a fun card to the collection. But again, I'm doing it on the cheap. And this is important. I'm doing it on the cheap. Go ahead, Edgar.
Do you have, after what you just said along those lines, and you'll have to help me with the name. It's just, I'm old and I forget things.
Jamarcus Russell, without guessing. I've actually looked. I've looked to see, like, I think
greatest bust in league history.
More than Ryan Leaf? More than Ryan Leaf?
Him and no, Leaf wasn't as big of a bust. Tony Mandarich and this Russell kid, biggest busts in league history.
Leaf was pretty devastating. Leaf was picked ahead of Peyton Manning.
Leaf, if you knew, Leaf had a wrist issue his entire
Leaf
career.
also never accomplished anything. Like, he was really bad.
No, he wasn't as bad as Russell.
I think we may need to go to the advanced analytics on this, Brandon. I need to leave it to the football savants to compare, because we're comparing a terminal disease to terminal disease here. Like, these is both pretty bad.
It's not as he was much better. He was in the league much longer. All his stats are better. This Russell kid was complete trash.
Yeah. So bottom line, to answer your question, it's on my radar. It's one of those things where I need to find the right. And again, I also have to factor in that I'm actually going to price it accordingly. To me, I'm going to price it according to, this is for my entertainment value more than value that I'm actually feeling that it warrants. So I've got to look at it and go like, and for me, it's like, okay, what's like the coolest card that I can get for like the cheapest price? Obviously, you could go get a base card for 5 cents, but I'm talking about what's the coolest card that I can get for the cheapest price that at one point would have had tremendous. That's with the Josh Rosen. A lot of those cards are like, no, these had a lot of value when he came out and he was part of that rookie class. He was still a top 10 pick. So like there was a moment where people thought he was going to be a guy, and it would have been worth by many multiples more than what I actually paid for it. So what's the coolest card that I can get that would have been ridiculous in 2018?
I still remember, it was probably 2 years ago or so, but I was at the Chantilly show, and a guy had, 2-3 row box value box. We were discussing those last week at shows, and I'm looking through it, and I just start laughing because, and you mentioned Manziel, so to the Cleveland fans out there, if there are any listening, this is going to be another one that stings a little bit. But Brady Quinn, and there was NT Brady Quinn RPAs in this value box, and I think the guy had them priced at like $10 or $15, and I was like, holy hell, what those would have, if Brady Quinn was the quarterback in the hype today that he was back then, those are 5-figure cards, and they're sitting here for $10 to $15, and it's like, Jesus, the amount of pure busts that have came through the NFL is just insane.
So we talked about the Cleveland Browns. I remember I went through the number of quarterbacks they went through.
Oh yeah,
like it's basic sense. And look, I won't speak for the Browns fans, but I think I'm comfortable in saying they no longer feel pain. they now feel nothing. It's like nothing can hurt them at this point, Brandon. Like, what more can you do to them?
Since we're on the topic real quick of the man
of tormenting Cleveland,
the Russells and the Leafs. So
okay.
I actually ran just for fun a fantasy league in the Bobbles and Ball Cards Facebook group a few years ago, and there was enough people that we filled 3 leagues. And so I had this fun idea, and I took a Jamarcus Russell rookie, a Manziel rookie, and a Ryan Leaf rookie, and I sent them down to SGC, and I said, look, guys, I want to make sure that they're in a good enough shape, keyword good enough shape, to get a 1. So I sent them and let them damage the cards to make sure they were in the condition to get a 1. And then I mounted them on a little plaque in the 1s for the winner of all 3 leagues. So each of them got a first place loser card as their trophy. So I thought that was a pretty fun idea, and great use of Jamarcus Russell, Manziel, and Ryan Leaf.
Now you know, if you go to the Bobbles and Ball Cards Facebook page, Brandon will torture you. just because he can, and just because it amuses him. I like it. I like it. All right, so let's do the silly card of the week here. So thank you all for your patience and indulgence. I wanted to talk about that for a moment, but we'll come back to it. So the silly card of the week is brought to you, as always, by AMG Collectibles. amgcollectibles.ca, the website, and the AMG Collectibles YouTube channel. If you check out the channel, you will see that they did a full case of the cup, the most recent the cup. It actually turned out pretty good, especially compared to the last one. Leaps and bounds, much better than the last case of the cup that they did.
Yeah,
there were some good cards. There is a pretty fancy schmancy Connor McDavid card in there. So it's gotten some traction, gotten some views, and gotten some engagement, which is really good. Appreciate that. And we'll be back for a podcast episode. So we're recording this on the Monday, but it will drop on a Tuesday morning. Later on Tuesday, you will get the episode. There is going to be a new card show and a trade night. So I'm giving you a heads up on that, but we'll talk more about it on the podcast episode. I'll be on there with the team. And I got a little birdie telling me that we may try to do a couple more live streams down the road. Pending information, we'll get all the details figured out and we'll let everybody know, but you can check it out on the AMG Collectibles YouTube channel. All the information is in the description. We thank AMG Collectibles for the support of the podcast and the channel. All right, it is time for the silly card of the week, the segment that is sweeping the nation. As I said, true democracy in effect with the silly card of the week. All right, gentlemen. So I'm going to let you guys decide who goes first. I got all the cards here in front of me. Who wants to go first? And I can share.
I'll go because mine, I had fun with this one, and there's a reason that I picked this, just to have some fun with it.
So I'm grabbing the window. We're going here. All right, I'm sharing it. And what I'm going to do here is you can kind of see it on the side, but I'm going to hide it for now. There you go. I'm going to put the focus on this one. So Brandon, explain.
So obviously the card is pretty funny. The dude is really appreciating his baseball bat.
By the way, it would have been funnier if it was somebody else's bat. It would have been funnier if it was somebody else's bat. But as it is, it's pretty good.
It would have been funnier. But the reason I chose this card, and I'm saluting to you, Carlos, because this man is only missing one letter and a little bit of rearrangement to have your name. If you just
it's close, it's right there.
If you slap the L's, you have the Carlos Alcazar. You just rearrange them a little bit, slap an L in the first and the last name, and you have Dr. Carlos's name. But I just thought, hey, it fits the bill. Little shout out to Carlos. Little love to the bat. Sweet dreams. He is enjoying snuggling that bat. And it also, I don't know if he even has a Padres jersey on. Yeah, there's a little spot peeking right there. So. It almost looks like he's in a blank pinstripe jersey posing for the photo. But anyway, just a little fun one. I thought the name, the little name play was,
that's completely ridiculous. I think that's a good pick.
Yep, there you go. Although, you still have to, if you're going to go for the ultimate, there's my boy. If you guys go to your baseball reference, there's my boy, Carlos Almanzar. There is, in fact, a Carlos Almanzar who played for the Padres, amongst, I think, a few other teams. He might have even played for the Blue Jays for a stint, but I remember that was a name, not unlike Carlos Alcaraz, the tennis player. Again, when he won the major, I did get congratulatory texts. It was good to know that you all appreciated my tennis game, so I appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
but yes. So there is so well played by you. All right. So Eric, I will let you go next. Bear with me a moment, and I will grab the appropriate one here. Let's go back here and grab this. So all right, you all ready for the hockeys? We're coming back to the hockeys. It's Eric, so we got to have the hockeys. Here we go. We're going to share this on the screen. By the way, folks, if you check it out, it is a Stadium Club. I want to say 91 Stadium Club, Brandon, or 92? 92 maybe?
I think that's 92.
Yeah, I think it might be 92.
91. Yeah, it's not.
We'll get you a little bit of information about the cards in question, but it is an early Stadium Club. It's a first off the line, but it's the image. It's the image specifically that's the key to it. And we will share a community post that will include images to all these cards, so you'll be able to see the card itself when you decide which one to vote for. So we got Rick Hampton of the Golden Seals. Eric, explain what's going on here in this image.
This is a 1975-76 rookie card of Rick Hampton. And Rick's a little confused. somebody did not tell Rick that there are supposed to be 2 eyebrows on a human being, not 1. And it looks possibly that Rick took a nap in his backyard during a long hockey season or something, and a caterpillar crept down on his face and just laid between his eyes. It is so ridiculous, and when you look at it with the mustache, it's even more ridiculous. If
with a gap in the middle, you got the mustache with a gap in the middle.
Yeah, if you got the unibrow, which I have never ever in my life seen a unibrow like this. This is heavy unibrow.
Ooh, there's a baseball player whose name escapes me who was famous for unibrow.
This
I'll have
is
to see if I can find it.
heavy duty unibrow. And then, because you can't take your eye off it, it's crazy. But if you just kind of take a bigger, wider picture with your eyes of the unibrow and the mustache, this man's face is a train wreck.
Interesting. So let me share real quick, just since Eric brought it up. Let me quickly grab this. Can I interest you, Eric, in Wally Moon?
Oh, good Jesus.
I knew as soon as you mentioned the unibrow, I was like, wait. There's a baseball player from Ye Olde Vintage that fits this criterion very clearly.
It makes no sense to me why somebody would just ignore that, but
they don't own a mirror, Eric. They're not as fortunate as you.
Yeah, well, I
stop judging,
and I have a mirror in my house.
Yes, so stop judging. So second one, Rick Hampton Golden Seals unibrow. That's the second card. Third card, very similar to last week's theme. Last week I brought you the classy Stan Musial in Stadium Club. It was the image was the thing, and this time around I am going to give you something that's based on the image, but this one. I'm going to the pre-war era. I'm going to Ye Olde cardboard. And this is John Montgomery Ward, or John Monty Ward. And we're going to Old Judge cigarettes. Because in the olden days, they were posed images, which created a lot of images that it's like, you guys really think this is a good looking card? Okay, fine. I guess if that's what you want to do. So this one is John Montgomery Ward in Old Judge. In a posed image where he's supposed to be sliding, as far as I can tell. And here he is, and he's basically just laying there and holding the arm up, going, "All right, time." I assume, I don't know. Otherwise, he's just literally laying there, stretching his arm out to go get the base, with the one arm extended. And it's like, how long do you think he had to hold this pose in order to? Again, you got to remember, it's a still motion because at that point, you got to hold the pose. That's the reason why a lot of these old Judge cards, if somebody's got a baseball, it's suspended by a string. You have to kind of hold the pose. So whatever it is you're doing, you have to be able to hold it for long enough for the image to expose. So you're literally standing there with an empty base in the middle of like an empty space, 1888, and he's there sliding. Well, that's quite the slide technique, Brendan.
Yeah.
I want to know why there's a hill of sand behind him.
Because why not have a hill of sand behind him, Eric? Why not have a hill of sand?
Yeah,
and I actually don't think that's a hill of sand. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a bed sheet. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a big old bed sheet.
I think they did this at the beach.
Yeah. So regardless, here is John Montgomery Ward from the New Yorks, plural. We got the New Yorks.
This is why the man opened up stores and malls.
That's right. Think about it.
I like it. Selling kitchen appliances.
That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
I like the fact. So a couple of things I like about it. I like the image. I like the still photos element of it. The fact that he has to hold this pose for however long in order to make this work. And the fact that he looks completely posed. Like you can't hide the fact like it's posed. It's so ridiculously posed it hurts. I also enjoy the fact that you have to superimpose J Ward SS or shortstop New Yorks, plural.
New Yorks.
And we got copyright 1888, Goodwin, Brooklyn, New York. There you go. It's a classic. I thought
that is something.
Yeah, I thought I would go a little old school. I went way old school on that one. Way old school.
Good choices. I think all of us made good choices this week, and we'll let the people vote, and we'll see which is the most ridiculous in a week from now.
Yep. And this time around, you even got a little bonus Wally Moon. You didn't know? Now you know. You got a little bonus Wally Moon. So I will include all those images in a community post, and you can select whichever one you feel is most appropriate. We thank you for the participation, the voting. It's been good. It's been good to have the interaction with it. So feel free to pick whichever one. Vote your conscience. This is the most democratic thing we got. So
yeah,
and your votes do in fact count.
And we don't even make you register.
Nope, we don't. You do whatever you want to do. It's all good. So one more thing I wanted to touch on here that kind of plays into it. So I'll start off with a little bit about the wrestling, but I'm going to play it into, and I'm actually going to move it into hockey. So Eric will be very comfortable after a moment, but let me set it up first and we'll get into it. All right. So obviously I've talked about the 2024 AEW flagship from Upper Deck. I'm a big fan of it. I actually got a half case that came in today of 6 boxes, and I may have allegedly already opened them all. And I may have allegedly already recorded the entire openings. They're already sitting on my computer, and they will go on the BIC Wrestling channel, link in the description, in due course. So it's going to be coming. So overall, I have opened 8 boxes. It is a 12-box case, so I've opened 2/3 of a case. So I've gotten quite a bit out of it. Now, I also did a video in which I ranked all the different AEW products. And again, I know whether you're interested in AEW or not, I am getting to a point that will transfer to other sports and genres. So hang in there with me. The point is that I opened enough of the product to be able to judge it on its own merits and be able to get a sense of how I feel about it. And the thing is, even before opening a couple of boxes, I kind of knew where it would fall, but then opening boxes confirmed my suspicions. It is the best version of flagship that Upper Deck has produced so far. So it ranks at the top of that. I made a video where I ranked all the products they've released so far, 7 products in total. And what I came up with was AEW Spectrum at the bottom of the heap, 4 different flagship products right above that, increasing every single year. It got a little bit better, so they all went one step higher. And then Metal Universe, which some of the PMGs and some of the inserts and everything I appreciated, so I felt it elevated above that. And then Allure at the very top of that, because I think it's the best product they produced so far. My personal opinion, it's on the channel and I give my explanation. Here's the point. The point is that Upper Deck flagship AEW, much like flagship hockey, has started to creep into what I have dubbed the Pacific problem. So I kind of gave the guys a little heads up on this, but I'm going to explain it real quick. And I'll do a video actually where I'm going to talk about this. And I'll probably do it on the wrestling channel, although it could totally apply for sports cards too, to be honest with you. The Pacific problem is this. If any of you are folks from the 90s and early 2000s, you remember the Pacific Trading Card Company, and you remember a lot of the products they came up with. And the thing about Pacific was that they had some really nice sets, really nice inserts, really nice base cards. Again, a lot of different products. They tried a lot of things. They were pretty innovative in time, and they came up with a lot of kind of cool ideas. They also came up with a lot of really wacky off-the-wall ideas, which, by the way, is not a bad thing. You got to try stuff to find out if something's going to work. So I don't mind that concept. And if you're going to be innovative, you're probably going to try a couple of things and maybe some of them won't work. That's okay. But one of the things that I never quite understood was that sometimes there would be some perplexing decisions. And I'll use an example that I'm going to share with you here in a moment. And that is, you'd have some sets that would come out and you take a look at some of the cards, some of the inserts that would be in some of these sets. And you'd go, oh my God, that's an amazing card. That's really cool. That must be a case hit or something. No, there's 2 per box. And you go, okay, it's like a really funky die cut or some really cool technology or some shiny foil or something. And you'd be like, wait, that's 2 per box or 3 per box or whatever. Okay. And then you look at this other card and it would look okay, but it would look pretty plain, all things considered. But you'd look at it and go like, okay, yeah, okay, it's a nice card. I guess that's the 2 per box. That's another one of those 2 per boxes, right? No, that's 1 in 360 packs. 1 in 370 packs, whatever. There's 36 packs in a box. That's like 1 in 10 boxes. It just looks kind of plain. Why would you do that? And it was stuff like that. That's basically what I'm referring to. So that's what I call the Pacific problem. It was that they would have this weird mix where sometimes they would do some of these cards that were beautiful, really well thought out, really well conceived. And then other times they would have these ones that there's nothing wrong with the card. Objectively, there's nothing wrong with it. But it never felt like it was a case hit or like a half case hit or whatever the case would be. So I'm going to use an example and I'll share 2 images with you on the video version and it'll help. So first one I'm going to share with you here is actually a piece of promotion. And I've actually got a couple of these over the years, but I'll share this one with you. So let me do this one. This was an advertisement of Pacific Dynagon. This is 97, 98 Pacific Dynagon. So Medana was actually the poster athlete for this. 97, 98, he was a poster athlete for all the Pacific products. So I've got some posters. I've even got an autographed version of one of the posters and everything for my personal collection. But this is one of the advertising pieces. And it would show off the base card, and it would show off some of the bonus sets and everything. So you got this set here. Stonewallers would be this, goalie base set. You got this dynamic duos, which looked kind of interesting at the time. It was kind of neat. But then you also had this product called Kings of the NHL. It was a 10-card set, 1 in 361 packs. So to get a specific one was 1 in 3,610 packs to get a specific card. I'm going to show you an example of that a little bit closer. So here is the one I'm going to use for this one. So here's the Paul Kariya, Kings of the NHL. It's got gold foil. It's got a little bit going on. A little bit of design going on, a little bit of lightning in the background. It's got Paul Kariya in there in his pose. It's got the Pacific Dynagon in the corner, the logo there, and the name. Okay. So I've told you, it's 1 in 361 packs. That's the ratio. Paul Kariya in the late 90s was still one of the top tier athletes that they had for that. So it was a good pull. It would have been a good pull. Gretzky was in that one. So let me ask you a question. So here's kind of a little bonus trivia question. I'm going to go on a ComC right now as we speak. And what I want to know, and this is how I want to ask you guys. I just gave you the odds. I just showed you the card. Can you tell me what I can buy? Let's say on here. Yeah, I've got the Gretzky on here. What can I buy the Wayne Gretzky for? It's a 10-card set, 1 in 361 packs. So it's almost 1 in 10 boxes to get one. How much does it cost me to buy a Gretzky on ComC right now?
$40.
Okay. Brandon, what do you think?
So I'm going to just full disclosure, and I may be way off, but I like the Pacific stuff, especially in baseball. They have some awesome stuff they did, but I also collect in Griffey and Bonds. You can buy their stuff relatively cheap. So even the cool stuff. ComC, Gretzky. This might be low, but I'm gonna say $14.
Well, not quite that low. Eric is actually pretty close. $49.95. The reason I picked ComC is just a buy it now platform. I'm not talking about what it would sell for in an auction. All I'm saying is what it was in there as a buy it now. I can literally just hit buy it now and purchase it. If I go to auction, and I'll actually do that. So as we're talking, I'll do that. But do you guys understand what I'm talking?
I didn't like the design of that card.
But Brandon, that was literally my point. My point was that the design was nothing special, and it was a 1 in 10 box hit. And this happened all the time. When I'm referring to the Pacific problem, what I'm referring to is not that the cards weren't worth a ton. What I'm referring to is that sometimes the coolest looking cards were the more common ones. Oh, and the really tough cards were the ones that were like, oh, that's it? Wait, that's the one? Okay, I guess, but and I'm actually going to show you guys an example of the current Upper Deck that fits this exact category. I wanted to go to the past first. I wanted to go to the past so you understand the Pacific side of it. I'm going to show you the Upper Deck version of that in a second. But the reason I asked the question is because they did this all the time. And they also had some really cool stuff. They had the Kramer's Choice Awards. Those were one in a case. Those look really nice. But again, a lot of them don't hold a lot of value relative to what you think for like 1 in 721 packs. It's a pretty tough pull. Seems kind of difficult to come by, right? So why wouldn't it be? Because the audience is still going to look at it and go, yeah, okay. They're not that excited about it. It doesn't matter that it's a tough pull, quote unquote. The question was like, am I interested in it? And that is an important thing. People forget that matters. It has to be something that's engaging to the audience. It can't just be, oh, but it's a really tough pull. Yeah, but you didn't do anything there that warrants it to be special. It doesn't feel special. If it doesn't feel special, it doesn't matter that it's a really tough pull. It's like, well, that's great. And yeah, they're not around all the time. It's not an easy card to pull. So I found one here that somebody put into BGS 9. Oh, Eric, very exciting BGS 9.
Oh,
And the
wow.
Gretzky and a BGS 9 went for much more, like 231 fixed price. Maybe they should have looked at Comsy. They could have got one for 50 bucks. They should have taken a closer look.
Was
But
it
here's a good one.
specific that I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No,
they
go ahead.
they had the ones, if I'm not mistaken, that I thought were cool with the goalies where it had like the net where they did
Yeah.
the little
Mhm.
cut and like made
Yep.
it mesh. Because I like the in the cages, and there's another one. It's I can't remember the name of the set. I have some, but it's like they made the foul pole and they would make it like with the netting. And I thought they had done a little bit of that with the hockey stuff, and I like those, but you can buy a lot of them relatively cheap.
That's the point. So my entire point is not whether it's cool or not. My point is not whether you like it or not. My point is because you made some weird choices in which one was the rare card versus which one was the more common card, it kind of devalued it. And I'm going to expand it. Now I'm going to go into the upper deck one and I'll explain where I think that plays into the current. So again, this is the Pacific problem, and I'll expand upon this in a separate video, but I want to give you the basic groundwork on this so that you understand, and then I'll be able to explain it more later. So I'm going to show you a card from the AEW product. And actually, without explaining it to you, I want you to tell me if you can explain to me what the difference is or what the rationale is behind this one. I'll give you a little background, but we'll go do it. By the way, folks, this episode might be helpful if you check out the video version. It might be a little more beneficial. All right. So here's the Dennis PC card that I'm trying to track down. I'm trying to get my hands on this one. So this one here, so it's Dr. Baker DMD. It says retouched on the front of the card. Can you tell me what it is that this card is presumably trying to show me? Can you make it out? I've got the image blown up pretty big.
She took her glove off.
Yep. But that's part of what she does for her finisher. So what's the thing? Can you look in the background? It might help you. If you look in the background, it might give you the answer.
Oh, the TBS.
Just beside the TBS. What is that white thing and that metallic thing?
Does she have wings on?
That is supposed to be a tooth. That's a tooth with the little metal thing that dentists use to clean plaque from your teeth.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's stupid.
That's what that is. The problem is it's small enough behind her that you can't make out that it's a tooth. You can't tell.
I'm sorry. That's stupid.
Oh, that's sorry, I'm out.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah. So now, having established that, can I ask you a follow-up question? What do you think the odds are of pulling one of these retouched cards? There's a I think
this
10
is
of them
probably
in
the
the
case
set.
hit or something.
Oh, I wish it was the case hit. That's not the case. No.
1 in 10 cases?
Not quite that bad. Maybe about 1 in 5.
For that?
Yep.
Like you have 2 people sitting here that couldn't even tell what the hell that was
Bingo!
supposed to be.
Bingo.
Are
Yes.
we just stupid?
That is my point.
I thought there was something actually in the ring at because
I thought it was like a chair.
Like it's like
Yeah.
hit somebody picked that up and hit. I don't know what the hell that was.
Eric, that is my point. My point is, one, the case. 12 boxes in a case. 12 packs in a case. A case is 144 packs. That is what a case is. That card is 1 in 720 packs. And that's the get,
Like,
by the way, one.
Are they all that bad?
Yeah. Yeah. I have another one that I'll see if I can track it down, but there was another one that literally is, so there's a guy named, there's a character named Luchasaurus, and the lady has a dinosaur behind him. Leaf would appreciate that.
Yeah, no kidding. Please don't spend your money on that.
I'm sorry. No offense to anybody.
Please don't buy that.
But that's just stupid.
I try to be nice to my friends at Upper Deck, but they're making it hard, Eric. They make it real hard.
You know what I said? Do not spend your hard-earned money on that.
So my point. So my overarching point is that when I saw that, I was like, this is the Pacific problem. This is the Pacific problem that I just described a moment ago. This is a very tough pull so forget everything else. Forget about whether you like it or don't like it. That's not the point here. You're going to pull that. That's actually a really tough hit. There's 144 packs in a case. Set 1 in 720 packs. That's a massive pull. That's a monster pull. Hey, congratulations. That's like 1 in 5 cases. Good job. Congratulations. But you couldn't even figure out what it was.
No. Like I literally did not have that as a tool in a tooth at all.
And
like,
that,
Eric
my
looked
friends,
right past it and said the TBS.
and you literally were looking right beside the tooth.
I thought, you know, it was like a ladder and chairs match or something. And it was something in the ring that they beat each other up with or something. I didn't know what the hell it was. Brandon thought it was like fairy wings that one of the girls were wearing. I mean,
it was, that, I'm sorry. That.
And that, in a nutshell, is the problem. That's the Pacific problem. I've now defined it for you guys. So now you guys understand what I'm talking about. So when I refer to the Pacific problem going forward, I'll do a video where I'll talk about it more. But now you understand what I'm talking about. And the thing is, it isn't that there aren't cool inserts. It isn't that there are cool parallels. That ain't it.
No.
I'm very disappointed that. So when I heard about retouch, I was like, okay, what does that mean? We don't know what it means. Like we didn't have any images ahead of time to know what it meant. And then we actually started seeing some of them get pulled. Not a lot, because it's a very difficult pull. Right. So I'm sitting there like, wait, what? That's it? That's what we're talking? Oh, no. No.
Oh, no is right.
My children, no. What have you done? Just, it's the Jurassic Park thing.
Over that.
It's the Jurassic Park thing. Just because you could doesn't mean you should. You didn't ask if you should. Someone needed to be, we need a role model. Someone needed to stop you before you went too far.
Where was the adult in the room that said no?
I was wondering if they were trying to copy the Topps thing when they did like the little Kevin Hart image and just put him real small, so it like was so subtle in the picture, but it was like a super short print. But I mean, we couldn't even tell what the hell that was. Like, let alone that. Do you know how many of those, if collections wind up in other people's hands and like dealers start making the value boxes as shows, do you know how many of them are going to wind up in a value box because it looks like just a stupid card? Like, at least there, I know it's a damn dinosaur.
You've at least got a dinosaur. You've got that going for you. So that's another example, one of a dinosaur. You got that.
I don't know why it's part of it, but
so there is
somebody said that's sick.
Yeah, there you go. Let me see if I can find this here. So the Brit one was shown here. Let's see if I can find it. Can I find it here? There was one more that I found somewhere, and it was a hit there as well. But okay, so the bottom line is this. Because of the difficulty of pulling those, at least it says retouched. It says on the front of it, so that's fine. But there's also a photo variation, which again is a photo variation. But it appears that those aren't labeled, so you have to kind of pay attention. It's good that you have to pay attention, but again, these are the really tough pulls, man. These are the ones that are like you have to track down and everything, and it's like
we're going to get to the point where people are going to chase cards with just poop emojis on them. Oh,
that probably already happened. don't get Leaf excited. It's probably already happening. So I actually did one
vintage.
Well, that one has a poop emoji on it. So I wanted to kind of actually angle this into a specific point. So I've now defined the Pacific problem. So now henceforth, when I reference the Pacific problem, now you understand what I'm talking about. Bless Pacific, but they made some mistakes as well. And Upper Deck is following a lot of those things. Again, I can give credit where it's due. I appreciate some aspects of it. Some of the cards on it. Well, here's what's funny. The irony of this. Now, it's because the odds don't exist in this. They've also got these cards called breakouts. These are actually acetate with a little bit of shine on it, a little bit of foil.
You can tell it's acetate.
Yeah. So you can tell it's acetate. So these ones being more difficult. These ones, though, are numbered to 49. So these ones don't have odds. These ones are actually tougher than a case as well. But I think technically these are easier than the retouch cards. And like, which one do you think is more worthy of being the tougher pull? This is a nice acetate card, decent design. It actually looks pretty good. A checklist of 30. It's a pretty solid. I think these are actually going to be like a little bit sought after because I think there's going to be a couple folks that are going to try to do sets of these. I actually pulled this from my 6 boxes, and I actually think this is a great pull. And I think, and I'm going to, and I've already got it up on the eBay, and somebody will pick it up, and I think it'll be a great pickup for them, and they'll enjoy it. I think this is actually an objectively nice looking card. I like the design. I like the acetate. I like it. This is a hit to me. The retouch, not so much. But the retouch is technically tougher than this. Yikes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's like, but that's what I mean. Like that's the disconnect between the two things. So the question I wanted to ask, kind of following that, Upper Deck has been trying, and I know this for a fact, for sources that I have,
Mm-hmm.
they've been trying to re-educate the audience because the audience at a certain point became so stuck on autographs and memorabilia. That became the hit. It didn't count as a hit unless it was autographs or memorabilia for the longest time. So they were trying to get back into the world of technology cards as being the hit. The problem is I think we've gone too far. I think we're already like the audience for this has become so disconnected from technology cards as a hit that I don't think it's working. And Pacific, again, I use Pacific as the example because they tried to do this too. And then eventually they caved and started doing memorabilia. And then they went too far, honestly. They went way too far on it. But the point is that Pacific started using memorabilia because they had to follow the crowd with everybody else because people were like, yeah, technology, yeah, die cuts, shiny cards, shiny foils. Like, yeah, that's cool, man. $20 card.
I just got this. This is a Pacific card. This came in the mail like today. 2001 titanium out of 1400. This is a Pacific trading card of Martin Brodeur, and it's it's pretty shiny. And it's pretty cool. I think Pacific did make good stuff. I mean, you can see, where the titanium thing's got a kind of a refractor thing going on, and the side over here, all right here has kind of got a refractor thing happening.
Yeah. The concern isn't that the Pacific didn't make cool stuff. The concern is that, like everything else, ironically, the reason why memorabilia became such a big thing was that we tried so many things with shiny foils, die cuts, and all kinds of things related to it that the audience got inoculated to it. They got used to it. And once they got used to it, it no longer gave the wow factor. So then they started going memorabilia. Oh man, you got a piece of the jersey, like a piece of the game used jersey. And then what happened? Eventually, then that ran its course because we just drove that into the ground. Now, Upper Deck is trying to bring back some of the old one, but it's like putting the toothpaste back in the tube.
Right.
You can't re-educate the audience. The audience is already kind of like literally. What's the first thing that happens every time one of these Upper Deck AEW? By the way, it's the same thing with hockey, because in hockey they've started to de-emphasize autographs and memorabilia in the flagship product too. And I'll tell you this, in that AEW product, autographs are coming at like 2 a case. Not 1 per box. So right now, Panini, that audience, the WWE audience, is getting like an autograph per box, basically. So they're sitting there going like, but we get an autograph per box over there. It's like, yeah, but if you get an autograph per box, half those autographs are worth like $5. Yeah, but we get an autograph. Case in point.
I think a lot of what's happened with the hobby itself is, and you touched
Not enough
on
dinosaurs?
the point. Yeah, we need more dinosaurs. No,
leprechauns.
We've hit several phases, and they've tried different tools out of the toolbox. And I think as they start, like, let's use autographs as an example. It seems like every product has autographs now. And it becomes to a point where finding the player's autograph becomes simple because there's so many products that have so many autographs, and the player seems to be in every product every year. And then it's the parallels, the serial numbered cards. Well, they've ran out, maybe they haven't, but the amount of colors and designs and emojis and everything else that they put on these cards, it's just stretching the parallel list out. I think the hobby, though, also is the products keep going up and they expect that value return. We discussed this. The value's not there in these products. So the manufacturers are trying to figure out, well, how can we make the product worth the value so we can keep the price up and make our money? But as you said, they're trying to de-escalate the autograph thing because, well, autographs cost them money. Memorabilia
Yeah.
costs them money. People don't want the player worn, they want the game used. That costs them money. So they're trying to
And
figure out
when they pull it, the reason I mention it, and when they pull it, the autographs
it's not
themselves are not holding much value anyway. So you're
right.
paying extra for the hit, and the return on the hit really isn't. And you still get complaints. It's like, oh, but this is a crappy autograph. It's like, well, guys, you wanted an autograph for box. So if you want an autograph for box, that means you're also going to get some kind of dud play. You're also going to get some SP Signature Legends. What do you want?
And I actually am a fan of inserts. I am a fan of die cuts and the really neat designs of inserts, especially when they are hard to hit. But when you make them too hard to hit with the cost of the box, they gotta figure out a way to tell people, well, you're not taking a kick in the balls. The box is actually worth this. So then they fill it. And like you say, it's gotten too far. The other element is, and I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but
No,
a lot of the people in this hobby, they're too lazy to figure out the rarity or the difficulty of pulling a card like that. If it doesn't have a serial number on it, they don't know what the hell it is. They don't know how hard it is to pull. In many cases, the case hits that aren't serial numbered or a card like that, they're not going to take the time to look at the box of the pack and figure out how damn hard it was or do that. We talk about it in the Discord all the time, like what it would take to hit one of these cards that of maybe one of the guys we collect, and you look at it and you're like, holy shit, how much would that cost based on today's box prices? But there's no serial numbers on them, so they don't understand the difficulty in hitting that. But Upper Deck, if you are listening at all, anybody, that card with a damn tooth on it is not going to work because that is stupid. We are cool with you coming up with stuff, making some inserts, making them hard to hit. That would be fun, but that was stupid. Like,
oh,
and I'm sorry. So,
don't be sorry.
but I do think that
They should be
the
sorry.
hobby needs serial numbers. They need it. They need that easy button and told, oh, there's only 20 of these. They don't understand otherwise. They don't do the maths. The school doesn't teach the kids the maths to figure out the
No
odds,
maths.
to figure out that, hey, there's not many of these damn things out there. They're hard to hit.
They did my
Maybe
girl
that's
Brit
why
dirty.
Panini just flooded the market with downtowns and kabooms and shit. They're like, they think they're all case hits. We'll just put 13 per box and they'll just still think it's a case hit. Maybe that's what it was.
And if it is a case hit, they're stupid.
That was the funny thing about the whole thing is that in effect like I said, they did my girl Brit dirty. It's just get devastating.
That was bad. That
Oh God!
you had two grown ass men not know what the hell was on the card. Like,
and the irony that's the reason why I contrasted it with the breakouts thing. So this is one that I'm going to advocate for because here's what we need. Here's all you need to know, and this is something I stand by. Flagship products are printed in good quantity. Flagship products in general. So bear something in mind. This card is numbered to 49. The checklist is 30 cards. So that means that in total, the total print run of this entire run, if you wanted to try to build a set or do whatever, the total print run is 1,470 cards, so under 1,500 cards. These are not even coming out at one per case. Think about that.
Can I make one more? I've always had this thought. We've had this discussion with some other folks. So people hold a lot of weight to scarcity and attribute scarcity to value. But there has to be some sort of demand along with that scarcity for the value to be attached. Just because something is rare does not mean a damn soul wants it. And if you're going to put out stuff like that, more people are going to want that cool card, the acetate card, or whatever. Like you said, people may want to do the sets, even though they're easier to allegedly easier to hit.
Well, that the irony is that I don't think they're going to be easy because that there's no ratio on that card. It's numbered to 49. There's
Well,
less than 1,500 total, and they're broken up between e-pack and physical. So e-pack hasn't
let's
even come out. So however many they held back, that's sitting in e-pack right now.
let's just use it as an example though, and this happens in some cases. Okay, let's just in this example say that is easier to hit and it's the cooler card. That card would likely have more value because more people are going to want it than a card that may be harder to hit, but that isn't as desired. And people get that confused too. They associate rarity with value, but you have to put the demand in there. And something that's easier to hit, if it's higher demand, it could actually be more valuable because more people want it.
100%. And that's the thing that's played out. That's what I say. I gave it the comparison to Pacific because that's happened in the past. They had that same kind of issue where they would pick a weird spot to be like, we're gonna make this card rare. It's like, but yeah, it's kind of a weird card. It's not very interesting. Why would you make that the rare card? I'll actually give you one more example that's kind of a fun one. Again, in the same vein as not being that crazy, if you really think about it, but I'll explain. Again, plays into my Pacific analogy, if you remember the Pacific analogy. So this card here, this is a card set called Day with the Belt. This is
Okay.
from the
I don't know where they
2023
got
set.
that idea.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It's a picture of him with his belt. It says Day with the Belt on the front. The bottom of it is almost the same design as the 2023 flagship. That's it. That's the card. It's 1 in 2,400 packs.
2,400.
1 in 2,400.
Day with the cups are pretty difficult to pull as well. So I can understand that one a little bit more.
They are,
Because
but
the
there's
Day
so
with the
little
Cup
going
are
on. There's so little going on relative to it. It's just a small modification. It's a image choice and a small modification to the front of it. You made it very rare to the point that I'm still looking for the Brit version of that from last year's product. I haven't even seen it. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, but even if I did, and this will actually take us into the main topic. I wanted to use this as a vehicle to get us there. I'm using the example. I'm setting the groundwork for the point that I was making. And, it's a critique. The problem is you got something like that, to your point. It's a very rare card. But if it came up, how would I even value it? That product came out last year, and I haven't seen a picture of the card that I'm looking for. So clearly it's a very difficult card to find. But at the same time, there's not much to it. It's going to be an image with her wearing the belt, and it says Day with the Belt on the front. Otherwise, you wouldn't know the damn thing was anything special. You wouldn't have a damn clue. Because it's just like, yeah, okay. It looks almost like the base card, but with a small modification. It says Day with the Belt. Okay, great. Good to know. But that's the problem, is when you do that, you're almost overthinking it. You're actually trying to get too cute. You're trying to get too clever, because it's like, we'll do something else to it. Make it die cut. Give it a little bit of shine. Something to make it feel like it was a little more special than just you presenting me effectively a base card with a front plate and making it extremely difficult to come by.
a question, and I'm going to stay to this scenario, and I'm not going to branch it out in general of the overall hobby. But do you think that some of these issues pertaining with what you're disclosing on Upper Deck's behalf and comparing them with the Pacific analogy and everything,
Yeah.
could some of this be, and I don't want to use the term lazy, but maybe rushed to get ideas out, but because they're so far behind on so many damn products, it's looking lazy because they're just like, we got to get all of this done. We got to get it out there. We got to try to catch up somehow. Could that be some of it?
Well, the thing is, if you go back pre-pandemic, it was going on with hockey flagship. We've had a correction. So just to kind of answer your question, but also expand on, and we can talk about this more later because it's a broader topic. It's I always use the analogy of an elastic band. You know what happens with an elastic band? You can pull an elastic band, you can stretch it, but at a certain point, If you keep pulling the elastic band, eventually it'll snap. It'll go back. But it won't just go back. It'll go beyond the point at which it was. It'll snap all the way in the opposite direction. It's a pull and pull, and then eventually it snaps, and there you go. That's basically what it's a reaction to the energy that's been displaced. Well, here's the thing. For years, Upper Deck got and again, I'm not taking this from anybody in particular, but I know a few folks there. But Upper Deck got the feedback for the longest time that the value wasn't there. So what do? You say, oh well, we're getting too many base cards. We're paying this money for this box, and we're getting base card. Why would I get a pack full of base cards? I want inserts. I want hits, right? Okay. Well, I open a bunch of boxes. Here's a stack. These are all inserts. That's only a fraction of the inserts. There's almost 3 inserts per pack. When you go through, there's almost 3 inserts per pack on average. Now, the insert could be an actual insert, could be a numbered card, could be a parallel. There's like 3 non-base cards per pack. These are 12-card packs. So a quarter of the cards in it are non-base card. Canvas card, autograph card, memorabilia card. But the autograph and memorabilia cards, you're guaranteed a memorabilia card or an autograph card or a tech card per box. You're guaranteed one of these per box. Well, a lot of the times you're going to get a tech card. A tech card could be acetate. A tech card could be lenticular, like the old Sports Flicks cards. Lenticular, fancy schmancy. Where's the thing?
Schmancy.
Most of the time you're going to get a lenticular. You may get an acetate. Some of the acetates are a little bit tougher. I showed you an example of an acetate. A very nice one. Good. So, but that wasn't the one that you were necessarily guaranteed. The point is this. That's one per box. You've got some parallels that are one per box. You've got some parallels that are multiple per box. You got some parallels that are numbered. So what happens when I just bombard you with a bunch of stuff? You end up with a pile like what I just showed you. A bunch of this stuff here is going to wind up in some combination of ComC or in one of my boxes if I set up in another one of those shows. So from what I saw, is from what I think Bobby said he may be doing the December show, if that's the case, and we may end up doing it. Well, a couple of these cards are going to end up in that box. 75-cent box, or maybe a couple of them will get labeled $1 or $2 and it'll go in there. Well, how much value is that really? I got a whole stack of them. Again, this is just from a couple of boxes. I got more. I got a bunch of parallels and things. I've got stacks right now. And I got stacks of base. I've got multiple sets. Now, I opened a bunch of boxes. But the point is this. I opened 8 boxes and I got 1 autograph.
Wow.
And the autograph is not a great character. It's okay. There isn't a ton of value in that. That's okay, because at least if it had been 1 per box, autograph-wise, then a similar character would have been worth even less. Because it would have been an even easier pull, because you would have gotten more of them. It would have taken it down a notch. The problem is that Upper Deck got so much feedback at one point that while you're not putting enough non-base in there, that they said, okay, fine. UD portraits it is. Eric wants UD portraits. He's getting UD portraits.
Eric does not want UD portraits.
He wants all the UD portraits. That's what I heard.
And no one does. Nobody wants that.
But that's why you end up with that. Because I'm using the AEW example, but it's the same in the hockey. Go to the flagship, go look at a box break, and what you're going to see is you're going to see a pack, you're going to see some base cards. Here's an insert. A lot of these inserts are multiple per box. So it's like, because you have to have a bunch of inserts because that's the only way you can fill it in. So to your question from earlier, circling back around to your question, day with the belt is the same as day with the cup. Why? Because it's like, well, it's easy. We find a picture of them wearing the belt. We slap the thing on top. Boom, we're done.
The only thing, your point with the day with the belt, and I don't know if wrestling does anything like this, but maybe they could have them lay out and pose at a base like the card from earlier. But at least the day with the cup, they're out actually like doing something with their day with the cup. I do agree that was a basic image and wasn't too exciting with the dude just.
It was just a picture during a show. The guy was walking down the ramp. The guy was walking down the ramp wearing the belt. That's basically what it wasn't. A day with the belt. It was a regular show, and he's walking down probably to give a promo. In that picture I showed you, he's probably walking down the ramp during a show, about to give a promo. That's more than likely where that image came from.
Yeah, that was That was basic. I knew where they got the idea, and they were playing off the day with the cup, but the execution was a little lacking.
So you're saying it's no Photoshop tooth in the background?
Oh, thank God.
Oh
right?
man, Eric, I have to ask
Yes, sir.
you:
Yes.
does the Photoshop tooth rank above or below the leprechaun?
Think
At
carefully
least you
on
know
this.
what
This
the
is a serious
leprechaun
question,
is.
Eric. This is a serious question.
In all seriousness, it's below the leprechaun because when you look at the leprechaun, you know
what it
it's
is.
a leprechaun.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, and that's one of your most hated cards ever.
That
and we're
that
putting
is
it below.
wait. Brandon, can we take a moment? Hold on. Can we collectively, as a people, take a moment and consider that is the most damning statement that has been uttered on this very podcast? This moment is the most damning. You know what, Eric? I need a moment. I need some zen. Hang tight, everybody. We'll come right back. It is Mayo Monday. We need a second. Hold on.
New England goes in-house and tabs linebackers coach Gerard Mayo as the franchise's 15th head coach.
Gerard Mayo.
Mayo.
I needed to lighten the mood on Mayo Monday. I needed, Brandon, a little bit of mayo. I need a little bit of mayo on Mayo Monday to salvage, to cleanse my soul. Because it's like, Brandon, not only did they do my girl Brit dirty, it's taking us down a dark path, man. It's taking us down a dark. This is a bad scene right now. A very bad scene.
Yeah, and
I'm
you
not
said
liking
that
what's
you
going
want the card. You said you
Hey, here's
wanted
the
it,
thing,
so you
I
both would wind up with cards that you don't exactly like.
Well, I think this is where we're in agreement here. I do want the card because look, I am the preeminent dentist PC collector in this realm, in this solar system. So I feel compelled to get this stupid card. But I will be the first to tell you, God damn, guys, you're making this hard. You're making this. You're kind of hurting me a little bit here on this one. Like I've got so many good ones. Like there's so many that are like, this was really good. I lived through the horrors of Spectrum 2021 and the same picture over and over and over
I can
Eric.
over.
Eric knows, yes. There's a lot of similarities here of Leaf, Reggie Lemelin, and now Upper Deck's take on the dentist. We have some serious similarities here.
And I don't think that's the direction you want to go. Never go full Leaf. Never go full Leaf. Woo!
Full Leaf.
Oh, this is a warning, Upper Deck. This is a cautionary tale. Never go full Leaf. I'm saying this with love.
Yeah.
Never go full Leaf.
No.
We are the ghosts of Christmas future. If you want to avoid this horrific fate, turn back now while you still can. My goodness.
Yeah.
Woo,
and I mean,
dark
the
path.
Canadians have a leaf on their flag too, so there is some similarities there.
Well, don't get
Listen,
me
our leaf works
started.
fine. Our leaf works fine. We don't have leprechauns in it. We're fine. We're fine. Do not try to taint this, Brandon. Do not try to taint this. All right? Don't mess with it. All right? Anyway, bottom line. All right, bottom line. Believe it or not, there was a point to all that. The whole discussion, the whole segment is I wanted to have a discussion about the idea that they're really trying to go down this path where they're trying to de-emphasize autographs and memorabilia. So I get it. I get what they're trying to do. I just don't think the audience is willing to take it. I think what the audience is telling them in the hockey as well, by the way. And it's weird because you've got this weird balance that you're trying to meet, because I get the idea that people are paying good money for these boxes and opening packs of base doesn't feel good. But then if you just got inserts for inserts sake, then the insert almost becomes like the base. So it's like, have you really solved the problem, or did you just kick the can down the road a little bit and give yourself a different problem? So that's why I say, like, tread carefully. You got to really consider the balance on this, because like I said, I got a stack of inserts over here. By the way, for folks that go and they check out the 75-cent box, the $1 box or whatever, when I put that together, or the stuff that goes to ComC, that's fine. It's okay. I'll be able to extract some value out of it. That's okay. But I'm going to have to work a lot harder because these are like $1, 50 cents, 75-cent cards that I'm going to be putting together to try to get some value out of it. But I think when you take, again, that retouch card with the tooth in the background, that's a ridiculously monster pull. It should be a massive card. Like that should be in concept. It should feel like this massive card. If you're going to call it retouched and you're going to use Photoshop, I would almost have gone full Metal Universe. I would have come up with some like otherworldly background on it, like really gone wild with the Photoshop, if you're going to do Photoshop for it. And then that would have felt like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Then I kind of get it. Don't you think?
Yeah, or like in that image, like the first thing when you was like, what are you noticing on here? I was like, oh, she took her glove off. Photoshop it where she's like holding the tooth or the tool or something instead of the glove, or if you're wanting to change something up, they literally stuck it behind them, like they were trying to hide it, and it became not even recognizable, let alone it didn't even feel like part of the image. Like it didn't work, guys. That was a fail.
A big one.
1 in 720 packs.
No.
1 in almost 5 cases. Well, actually, 144 packs. Maybe it is 1 in 5 cases. It might be almost exactly 1 in 5 cases. That, by the way, that by definition, Brandon, that's a hard pull. That's a tough pull, man. That's a tough card to get your hands on. It's like
Instead of looking at and having to try to play Where's Waldo with what in the hell is going on with the picture.
Yep. So we'll see. I've got, I think the checklist wound up being almost 50 cards. I opened 8 boxes, and I think I knocked off 4 or 5 cards. It's a tough scene, man. It's a tough scene. When you stack so much stuff in there and so many miscellaneous inserts, it's tough to get an individual card for one specific character. And it's like, it's a 100-card base set, guys. Like, I don't even have the gold parallel. I out of 8 boxes, I couldn't pull a gold parallel. I got multiple complete base sets, and I couldn't get a gold parallel. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, so that was a couple of things that I wanted to share. So let me kind of segue it over, though. Kind of talking about what we were discussing, though, with that one card, though. Something like that is an extremely tough pull. And extremely tough pull means also that comps are going to be tough to come by. So this is kind of leading us into the discussion of the comps that we were going to have. So this was precipitated by a 1 of 1. And 1 of 1s also create this very difficult problem with comps. A very rare card creates a problem. 1 of 1s creates a problem. Because now what you're looking at is you're looking at a situation where there aren't any real valid comps at all. You're basically just kind of making it up, trying to find something to play off of it. That's really what you're trying to do. So you kind of have to try to figure it out. Now, one of the things we always talk about is how do you come up with a value for something like that? And the problem is, and I'll lay it out this way, you've got the situation where maybe you're a reseller and you're trying to figure out what to pay in that instance, or you're a collector. If you're a collector, that creates a certain complication as well, because you're sitting there going like, okay, I may put a certain value on it, but as a seller, what kind of value are you trying to put on it? But if it's niche enough, do you even have the audience to try? So I'll give you guys an example to start off with, and then Brandon, if you want to give the example that we talked about on the Discord, but let me give you one example first, and then we can go right into that one. So one example I gave was the Danhausen card that I pulled from one of the Allure boxes. I showed that card off previously on a podcast episode. That's a 1 of 1. It's a reasonably popular character. It's a tough card, but it's a niche. And, AW is below WWE on the pecking order. So we're talking a niche of a niche. Wrestling cards are a niche. And then you're talking about one specific company in it that's a niche of a niche. And then you're talking about a character that predominantly has made most of his business on the independents. So it's a niche of a niche of a niche. It's niche cubed. We're going all the way to niche cubed over here.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So how do I come up with a price? All I could do is I looked at the regular version of the card, which was already a very tough pull, by the way. The 16-bit card. By the way, I don't have a 16-bit at the dentist. The 1 of 1 is sitting on eBay right now for way too much money that I'm not going to pay for it, but I can't even find the regular version. So it tells you how tough, again, tough pulls over here, I guess, in Upper Deck land. So regardless, one of them sold for about 260 or 280 bucks. I forget what the exact was, but somewhere in that vicinity. And this is the 1 of 1 version. So I said, okay, it's a Golden Treasures 1 of 1. So I put it up on eBay for multiples. Did I expect to get that? No, not really. I put it up, I think it was for 1,200 bucks is what I put it up there. So I said, all right, best offer. Let's see what happens. I had someone on a Facebook page go like, oh, you're being ridiculous. It's like, it's not even worth more than $200-300. And I go, well, the base version is worth 200, was sold for 260. It's like, well, maybe like $300 tops. I sold it for almost $600. Now, why was that? Well, because the person who bought it was a collector. He wanted the card. And he even showed me, and I don't know if I've shown you guys before. I can show you later. I've got the picture. He actually showed me a section of 6 cards. He's got a couple of them, including the base version of that. One of the base versions of it he's got is autographed. He's a real fan, like a fan of the character. He enjoys the character. So for him, this was a great card for him to chase after. He wanted this card. So I was like, okay, that's exciting. Very good. I'm happy to hear it. That's great. So it's one of those things where what it came down to was you had this situation where this person wanted this card. He made an offer. We went back and forth a little bit. We found a price that we were happy with. Win-win. But again, if I'd put it in open auction, maybe it goes for that much. Maybe it goes for less because the market was so thin and it's a niche of a niche of a niche. You don't know. There is a collector there that was clearly willing to pay that. But is there anybody else who would have been willing to push him up to that number? I don't know the answer to that. There's no way to know. But that's what happens when you've got something so thinly traded in such a niche category. Who knows? To a collector, it may be worth a certain amount, but to nobody else, it may not be worth a fraction of that. So how do you figure out what a real market value is on that when you're talking about something that thin? So to that, I yield you the floor, and I'm going to come right back. But Brandon, any thoughts to share?
So my first thought when you're talking about like the auction scenario, Eric, I know you've been around long enough. Back, years ago, a ton of stuff used to be auctioned. And that's when, the saying always came out. It's, worth what someone will pay. You throw it up, 7-10 day auction, you get some bidding wars, and you see where it lands, right?
Right.
And you hope that a couple collectors of that player or that card or set, whatever, are going to battle it out. They're going to duke it out. You're going to get a strong value, and you're going to see where it falls. Today, outside of like the auction houses or your consigners like DC Sports and stuff, there's not too much of that goes on anymore because everything is so heavily dependent on buy it nows. Then, of
Right.
course, you have the best offers that can go in there. But even when there's best offer there, I look back at in 2017 when I pulled the Kevin Maitan 101 out of the Bowman Megas. And I was like, I have no idea what this card is worth. And I, call around, ask a few people, and they're like, my best suggestion, put it at $10,000 or best offer.
Okay.
Just see what kind of offers you get. Well, I sold it for $3,500 within 90 minutes. Now, obviously, that was a hell of a sale because nobody even knows who this kid is anymore. But had he turned into a great prospect or whatever, I might look back on that and say, well, I could have gotten 7. I could have gotten 8. Hell, maybe 10 was too low. But you don't know. There's multiple angles to it because you have the market and what does the market see it as. You have the collectors and the emotional value, collector, especially someone that is heavily PCing somebody, they may invest more or spend more on a piece because they know they'll likely never see it again, or they know that there's other people out there and they want to secure it before someone else, In the buy it now scenario, it's tougher to navigate because the seller controls the price. I may have a card that Eric and Carlos both want, but I control what number gets it into one of their hands. So it's not just about what Carlos would pay or what Eric would pay or what the market value is. It's also what the seller is willing to let it go for. And when we get into these 101s now, there's so damn many of them out there that and Carlos mentioned to price his it's Danhausen, right? That's how you
It's Dan.
pronounce it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He based it off of the base card. Now, I think that was a smart play, only because he knew these were pretty limited, even in the base versions. But in regular scenarios where you might have thousands upon thousands of base and then 20, 30 other parallels, and then you get to the one-on-ones, it's difficult to do that because many of those other parallels are going to rapidly decline in value, especially if it's an early on pull. I believe the product had been out a little bit, I think, if I remember correctly.
Oh, it was a 2022 product. It's actually been out for a while. It's actually
Okay,
been out
yeah.
for a while.
So
Yeah.
you had a good idea of what the base was going for.
Yeah.
But in many cases today, like let's say it's a 2-week-old product, a lot of the parallels are already declining in value. You pull the 101, well, you have to hope for the sky, but a lot of that stuff's going to be in a declining market. And so it's tough to navigate with the amount of one-on-ones we're getting. And there's many different, we're discussing the value of it and what is the value, but it's broken into many different pieces. Like, who's buying it? Who is the buyer? Is the buyer a collector? Is the buyer someone looking to flip it later on, or an investor? God forbid, roast me in the comments, but someone prospecting or whatever wants to buy that and hold on to it to flip it later. Who is the buyer? Because we can't just sit and say, this is what it's worth. And a lot of times that's what's being said out there, especially when looking at comps. So I've gave my example with the Taylor, and we discussed one earlier, the Victor Robles, which that was ending on auction tonight. Let me see where that's at, if anybody bid on it.
So while you're doing that, let me quickly let me piggyback off one point you made. And I think this is a good example here of what we're talking about. And we're using one-on-ones as an example because they're so difficult to try to figure out. And we're actually talking through it. We're trying to talk through the issues and the questions that come up with it. So let's use a good example here. Let's have a little bit of fun with everybody's favorite. Let's talk about Reggie.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, Eric's favorite company in the world, Leaf. Never go for Leaf. Upper Deck, never go for Leaf. Settle down, never go for Leaf. But with the product they've done, they have a lot of one-of-ones. So they put a lot of one-of-ones, but not all one-of-ones are created equal. So the point that I'm trying to make with this is that not all one-of-ones are created equal. Now, for example, obviously there's a bunch of them in there. There's a leprechaun, there's probably a dinosaur, Sasquatch, Loch Ness Monster, all very exciting. All very exciting. But now imagine, okay, so being serious for a moment, let's pretend for the sake of argument, let's use Eric's favorite. We'll use Leaf, and we'll use his favorite photo, which is the only photo of Reggie that exists, because really that's it.
Right.
But now here's the thing though, all jokes aside, all things being equal, Eric.
Yep.
Leaf has a one-of-one. Let's say it's a decent design. Let's say it's a nice looking card, but it uses the infamous photo that you've gotten so sick of at this point.
Yep.
Upper Deck releases a card, and Billy, in his infinite torturing of you, decides to use the exact same photo just to screw with you. But this is an Upper Deck licensed product. You got logos on it and everything. It is an Upper Deck card, and it's also a one-of-one. All things being equal, which one do you think? First, I'm going to ask you which one do you think should be worth more, and second, I'm going to ask you which one do you think you would pony up more money for? All things being equal. Same image now. I'm a one-of-one and a one-of-one. I'm making it about as even as I can.
Yeah, no, I think you'd want to go with the licensed one. So in that photo, he's wearing a Calgary Flames jersey, so you can see the C and
Yep.
and the insignia.
Yep.
I think you'd probably want, you'd want that.
Yeah, and as a collector, you would agree with that assessment. That's basically the same thought. You would be, as a collector of Reggie, you would probably end up collecting both, but you would probably pay a little bit more for the licensed version of it because you're getting the full thing. You're getting the full package. And this is as the collector. This is an important distinction. I tried to make it as apples to apples as I could within reason.
No,
The reason, though, I'm bringing up this point is that as collectors, we make these judgment calls all the time. Again, we joke about it, and Eric and Brandon both say like, "Oh, please don't spend any money." I was like, "Here's the truth. I'm probably going to buy this stupid tooth card."
Oh,
Now, Am I going to be as interested in it as I am some of the other ones? No, I'm not. The lack of effort takes away a lot of the enthusiasm for it. But it is a really tough card. So it's one of those things where I have to balance two things. It is a very tough card to find. I know it's going to be a tough card to find because the odds make it so. It's going to be the day with the bell thing, even though I know that's kind of lame too. That was a 2023 product. We're in 2024 heading into 2025. I still haven't seen an image of one. When and if it shows up, I'll probably make a play for it. Will I pay as much for it as I would for a better thought through, a better design, a better considered card of equivalent rarity? No, I won't. But will I still try to make a play for it within reason? Sure. Is my enthusiasm of it dampened comparatively? Yes. Is that going to affect the price I'm willing to pay? Also, yes. So this is all important. It all plays into it. And when the market is as light as it is, in that niche market, niche of niches,
The niche of niche.
I operate a little bit more as a whale in that category. So it means if I'm not interested, that suddenly drops the price like a stone comparatively to it. There's still value. There's still people interested. There's still people that collect the Dennis PC. They're still interested, but they may not be as willing to pay as much as I would if I was really interested. If I'm really interested and I'm really engaged, I may be willing to go more aggressively after it, which in turn brings the price up.
But here's the other aspect to it, though. So there's two plays on it, because in many cases, well, I've seen both examples, but in many times the first one that comes out is going to be the highest. We know that. First to market gets
Generally
normally
speaking,
the
yes.
premium. Yeah.
Unless someone makes a mistake. Because that happens too.
Right. But
yeah,
in many cases, even on the let's say it's out of 10, in many cases, depending on who it is, what the set is or whatever, the first one is going to see the demand, and then the buyers are going to try to play down from there. Well, you might say, why is that? Well, because usually the first one is purchased by someone that wanted the card the most. They are the collector that's going for the rainbow, or they super PC that player, or what have you, and they don't know when the next time they're going to see one, or if they'll ever see one, and they know there's only 10 of them, so they'll pay up. Well, that sets the market, but historically we usually see it decline from there because that person set the emotional market in many cases. I'm not saying all cases, but in many cases they set the emotional market. If you were to find the tooth card and you bought it, okay, you wanted it, you pony up, you pay for it, because of your nature of the dentist market and everything, and you've seen how things ebb and flow of her stuff, you would likely know that you're paying at the top. Does that mean
100%.
that that's what that card is worth? Absolutely not, because
and that's exactly it. We're going to argue the opposite, because we're going to say in the market that thin, because when you've got a certain amount of players. And the wrestling card market, and again, I promise I won't beat you guys over the head with it the whole way, but I'm using it as an example because it fits here. The wrestling card market tends to be folks that are still operating in an older collecting model. And by that, I mean the market is still a lot thinner, which means the dollars are a lot smaller. There's one less zero, like compared to some of the other markets, there's one less. Folks are sitting there going like, $10, $100, That makes it easy for somebody like me who operates in the sports card market, where I'm like, yeah, a lot of $100 cards and $200 cards can become pretty normal fast. I'm like, yeah, I'll pay $200 for that. The next person will be like, oh my God, good Lord. It's like, yeah, I want the card. You can wait for your turn. You can wait for your copy, but I'll take that one now and I'll pay a premium. Not everyone's willing to do that. As a result, on some of those, I will pay the premium. I'll pay the higher version. But on other ones, I'll do well because I'll be able to pick off something because I'll catch a little something in the marketplace that works for me. But to your point, after I'm out of the market, let's say it's an out of 10, and I paid good money for the first one. After I'm out of the market, the next one is probably going to sell for a fraction. Why? Because the next person is interested, but they're only willing to pay so much. So then the market kind of collapses on itself. Then it moves down several levels.
And we see it so often too. People, they dedicate themselves to these comps, and it'll be, well, that was a month ago that it sold for that much. I'll give you 90%. Well, that 90%, then the next person, they're going to want it at 80% of what you paid. And it starts, until it settles in, it starts becoming this declining market. It's very, the pandemic and a lot of the newer folks that came in with that, they got used to everything. The next comp had to be higher, because for a period of time, that's how it was. It sells for 20 today. Tomorrow, it's probably 35. That's just how quick things moved upwards. But reality is that's opposite of how most things actually operate in the space, including things, obviously a 101 has to be presented on the market several times, and that doesn't happen too often. But let's use another one as just an example. That's a big boy card, and we've seen this play out.
Ooh, 76, 77 Bobby Orr, go on.
Oh God.
Not quite that big.
Oh, okay, fine.
The Luka
we'll take it down.
Man. The Luka Doncic logo man.
Sure.
101 was sold 1.2 million originally, I think. Went back up.
Like that.
And Shine actually bought it back cheaper.
Sure.
Luka, NT, logo man, RPA, he sells it, private deal, showed the check.
Wasn't that one like whatever. 3? Wasn't it like 3 million or something crazy? Something wacky?
I can't remember. It's been a while.
I remember the post. So Eric, remember those days when we were doing 2 lives and there was so much to talk about, record sales and crazy.
Oh yeah.
Monopoly money was getting thrown left, right, and center everywhere.
Yep.
Wild times. Wild times.
That's a great example though, because it sold, and it was during a really hyped period of the hobby. And then it got put up, and I think he got put back up at auction. He did a private sale, so let's call it a buy it now. He did it as a buy it now. He set the price. The guy bought it. It gets put up for sale in an auction format to where you get a more natural who wants to pay market, and he buys it back for less money. That happens. So just because it's a 101 and it sold before for, X, does not mean it's going to sell for X again. Doesn't mean it's going to increase to Y. Many cases, no matter how good the player is or whatever, if you don't have the next buyer there, if you don't have someone else that really wants that card, especially at that price, it may come down a little bit. So it's just something to think about.
So I want to make sure that I hit on this point because you touched on the key here. And again, we're using the 101 as an example because it's literally the toughest market to try to price. It's the most difficult because you're operating with so many variables, but you have so little data. It's literally the most difficult combination. You're going in the dark, just feeling around. It is very much. Market.
Yeah.
But here's the reason why I wanted to make sure we touched on this. And again, we'll chat on similar topics down the road, but I figured we would touch on this one this time around. But the reason why I thought it was interesting to bring this one up is that you just hit on one of the key points. You can take the same item, and this is important, what the collector is willing to pay. So the buy it now best offer, what it does is it forces the collector to figure out, what am I willing to put down to get this deal done? Because a buy it now best offer means that at any time, if someone desperately wants it, shows up out of the blue and hits the buy it now, you don't get it. You're the person making the offer. You're saying to yourself, all right, and you're playing this game. And I've done this. And I literally talked about it. If anybody checked out my Instagram, there was one of the posts I made a little while back was the gold PMG for the Dennis PC. I got a gold PMG that's a 101. There are 3 different images that are for part of it. The other 2 haven't even surfaced. One of them was sitting on eBay for the longest time, and I made an offer to the seller, and I went back and forth with them, and we came to a total. And by the way, you can go check out on TerraPeak. It's there. I think it was $1,250 is what I paid. Just full disclosure, you can go on TerraPeak. You can see for yourself. So the point is this. Would someone else have been willing to pay that much? Probably not. If I'm being completely honest, probably not. But would someone else have been interested in buying it? Sure. The question is how much? If it had been put in auction, now let's take the scenario, Brandon, this because I want to focus in on this point. If we go to open auction, if clearly $1,250 is more than anyone else is willing to pay, what that means is I was willing to pay more than anybody else. But you know what it also means, Brandon? It means if it goes to open auction and that other person is only willing to go to a certain amount, I only need to pay one increment above what they were willing to pay. Be it $600, $900, whatever it is. It's less than $1,250. Whatever it is, less than $1,250, all I need to do is be able to go one increment higher. And if it's true that no one else was willing to go to $1,250 ever, I actually could have won it cheaper. In that scenario, I still would have won it. I was still clearly willing to pay more. So my number that I was willing to pay is X. The price would have been Y. It would have been down here, whatever that is. All I need to do is beat the next highest bidder by one increment. That's why in auction, sometimes you'll wind up with if there's not enough bidders to push the action. If I don't have somebody else who's willing to pay the same or similar to me, we can't push the price up. It won't get there. In a buy now best offer, it becomes a situation of what do I need to offer to extract it from you, the seller? What's the number that's going to get that deal done? I know for a fact that that card had sold one other time. And again, you can check out Terry Peak. You'll see the number. It sold one time for $1,000. And I suspect the seller was the same person who was selling it this time around. The buyer, I should say, was the same person who was selling it. So now I've got a problem. Even though it's not a comp, I've got kind of a floor. My initial offer was $800. I wanted to see if they were hard up, if they were willing to go. I was trying, Brandon, to see if I could get them underneath.
That does happen sometimes, though, because they'll buy it and then either regret buying it or there's something else that pops up they want and they need the money or whatever. I've seen people buy something and put it back up and actually sell it for less than they paid for it. Doesn't happen often. You played the game of you kind of knew what it was going to take because you knew what was probably into it. And
we still got to try.
Like that,
we still got to try.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was worth a shot just to see. It was the first salvo to see if we could get a little bit of a response, and we went back and forth. 800, 1,500. It actually was a 2,000. 2,000 buy an hour best offer was the initial number. It was a crazy number. I was like, you're out of line, bro. You're out of line. You're way out of line. So I was like, all right, 800, 1,500, 900. And we basically just played this game. We just kept going and going and going until we were within about $50 of each other. And that's how we wound up at the final number. Am I happy with the final price? Not necessarily. Do I regret buying the card? Here's the thing. I don't. Is it worth that? No, it's not. I'm telling you flat out, it's not worth that. To anybody else but me, it is not worth that. But that's the point of this discussion. It is not worth that to anyone else but me. But if we try to use that as a comp of some kind, that doesn't make any sense. We can't use that as a comp. So another example, similar idea. I was having a back and forth with Instagram with someone who pulled another Dennis PC card, another one of one as well. And they couldn't find any comps at all. Again, it's a one of one, I get that. But they couldn't find anything similar. Well, it just so happens there is a similar comp of a similar card for the same person. And I go, here you go. And they go, where'd you find that? I was the high bidder on that one. So I know what the comp is because I was the high bidder. And here's the thing. The seller was trying to be all slick because I basically told them, I said, look, this is how much it sold for. I'm willing to offer you the take home because we're negotiating on Instagram here. We're not on eBay. I'm willing to offer you the take home that they got out of it after fees. I'm basically offering you the same amount. Because otherwise it would have been a bid on eBay and then you have to pay the fees and you wind up at the same number that I'm offering you. And they still tried to squeeze for more. Well, they still have the card as far as I'm aware. We'll revisit this conversation down the road. Maybe I'll get a deal done, maybe I won't. But it's one of those things where, again, I'm probably one of the more aggressive offers, one of the more aggressive bids. If it's still there in a couple months, do you think I'm going to offer the same next time?
Right. Yeah.
My offer's going down.
I'll give a couple examples on my behalf. So right now, with just over 31 minutes left, the Victor Robles First Bowman Superfractor is out at auction. I collect Robles like I collect Michael Taylor. It's known I want the Michael Taylor Bowman Superfractor Auto. I have yet to find it. This would be a card I would love to add to my collection. But even as a collector, this seller has it starting bid of $2,500. I would be nowhere even close, even as a big Robles collector. I wouldn't be anywhere close to that. Now,
Right.
I know what it sold for previously, and that's not even. We discussed it, in text. I would probably be higher than what the market would dictate. If somebody bids on this and it actually sells at this starting bid, I would be absolutely shocked because I don't see Robles carrying that kind of value on any of his cards. So that would surprise me.
So you're telling
But
Eric not to put in his snipe. You're telling Eric not to activate the snipe.
I would not recommend it. I would
Okay.
not highly recommend it.
Okay.
But
Okay.
then a few months ago, and I had it pulled up, but there was a Michael Taylor bat knob that I did not know that existed. I thought I had the only Michael Taylor bat knob that was made. There is another one out there, and I check for it really frequently now, but I missed it. And I believe it was auction, if I'm not mistaken, but it went for like 146. I'm not gonna lie, I would have paid well over double that because it's bat knob 101. They don't come up very often, and especially for him, and I have one of his bat knob cards already. It would have been cool to add this one, and I missed it, and it honestly pissed me off at myself that I missed it, because had I known, I would have been bidding on it, and like I said, I would have paid at least double that. That's an example there because it went for 146, so the comp is $150. But had I had been in on it, it might have went to $300. So what is the card worth? Well,
Mhm.
to the buyers that day, it's worth 150. Had I been a player, it would have been worth, the comp would have been possibly twice that. So it's all about who's involved at the time of when the card comes up, whether it's auction, buy it now, what the seller is wanting out of it can also play into the guy, especially on a 101. If the Taylor Superfractor ever appears, I have a number in my mind that I would have no questions problem, no issues paying for it. I do have the non-auto super, and I know what I paid for that, so that also helps me play into my decision. But I would have to get the seller to also agree to a number that I would want to go at. So, maybe my number wouldn't be enough for the seller. Who knows? You also have to think a lot of times the sellers can sense that emotional, they can pull on them strings. They know you want it. They know they might be able to get an extra $200 out of you, or whatever.
Right.
They might have a number in their head, but they'll try to get whatever they can, especially if they see how interested you are. So the point of this is, when we're looking at comps, especially on low numbered stuff, specifically 101s, we cannot dictate really what the value is, because that value is going to be different to probably anybody you ask. It all depends how badly they would want it versus how badly Eric would want it, Carlos, like the player, the seller, all of that. So there is no market value. I think y'all could argue this, or give me your thoughts, but I think it goes even above the 101s, like a 5 out of 5 or an out of 10, even
It's
maybe
out of anything.
25s, because they don't.
Anything that's reasonably low numbered is the same problem. The one of
Yeah.
ones we use as an example because we've got specific scenarios we can offer you. Like I gave you one. I gave you one where I bought the card, and I gave you one where I'm technically in the negotiation process. We've broken it off. We're not agreeing right now. I will circle back around in some time and see if they've still got it. Maybe they change their mind and see things my way. Like I was being very generous. Next time I'm going to be a little less generous because I don't like playing games. And that kind of goes into what we were talking about here. My scenario is a very unique scenario in the sense that inside of a niche niche cubed, I have a lot more pull than a lot of folks because I'm willing to I'm basically willing to be like Eric. I'll just throw a brick of cash at people, like just straight to their face.
That's how
Like
I
Eric lives his life this way. Like all the time, he just throws. Anytime it's an issue, he throws a brick of cash at people's face.
multiple.
Well, look at all jokes aside, though, and you mentioned it earlier, and you kind of used the Reggie thing with the upper deck and the licensed and unlicensed. But
That's why I wanted to give an apples to apples. I thought it was interesting. That's the question.
But even look at like a Prism basketball card, and you go with the Black Finite versus the Nebula and all of them. Those are going to vary because the collector sees the Black Finite as like the true 101 or whatever. But what I wanted to circle back to is, Eric, you mentioned your, niche cubed thing. And I'm not making fun of you right now, but
you will later. Go ahead.
no, you actually have the control on your Reggie market because
he is the Reggie market.
Well, it's not to shit on the guy, but Eric can literally tell the seller, look, I'm not trying to screw you over here, but how many other people are interested in this card? I'm willing to give you this. You can either sit there and have a thumb up your ass and keep it, or I can give you money and put it in my collection because I want it. And that's just the truth of it. And it's not because, there's not other people that would buy Reggie, but they're not going to, I shouldn't say they're not, but I doubt they would be as heavily interested as you are. And you've bought so many of them, you kind of know, where your place is, what you would be willing to get, that sort of thing. So
yeah, I go on eBay and I see, if it's out of 10 and I have 4 of them out of 10 and there's another one and they want $75 for it. I have typed and said, listen, do what you want, but I got 4 of these and the most I've spent on them is $8.
Yeah.
You're not getting that kind of money. If you're interested, I'll give you, 12. Some people, said, yeah, okay. Others have like ignored me. Others said, no, thank you. But it's like, you don't know your market. You can't sell that card for $50 when I bought 4 out of the 10 for $8 a piece.
Yeah, when you go on Terapeak and all of them are the ones Eric bought, he kind of knows what he's going to be able to pay for them, or else they're just going to sit there. And that's kind of like, Carlos was talking about his niche. Eric, I think, might actually be in a bigger niche because it's Leaf. It's Reggie, who's not, the most sought after player out there. Like people aren't, flocking to go buy all of his stuff up.
It's not Patrick Waugh. We'll agree.
Well, and you're also, like you just said, you've already bought 40% of the same damn card. Like, so you're not only just doing a rainbow, you're like buying all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you are literally creating the market. You haven't said it, you have created it. If you weren't buying them, there would probably be a hell of a lot more Reggies on eBay. I mean, it's just the truth.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. But I think that's where that plays into that situation where you have this niche. And I've had arguments with the seller, not like bad arguments, but just like realistically, I'm trying to be. It's a weird balancing act. All I'm trying to get at here is it's a weird balancing act trying to speak reality, but at the same time not trying to sound like you're trying to bully somebody, or you're trying to say like, but it's literally a situation where it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I know this market very well. I'm looking around me and I'm like, most of the people that are interested in it are not willing to pay what I will be willing to pay. And that's because I want it. So if I want it, then this is what I'm willing to offer you. If you want to go ask the next guy, he'll offer you half. Like, you're more than welcome to. But the next time you come back around to me, I'm probably going to be a couple of bucks over his half. So like, that's the way this is going to go. Like, we're not going to, my offer is only good for window of time. And I've literally had conversations where I made an offer to them. And I remember I phrased it this way. I said, this is my FOMO impatience offer. I literally phrased it this way. I said, this is because it's the first one in the market. I want to scratch it off my want list. I'm willing to pay you this. The next time we talk, if you still have it, my offer drops.
Yeah. And that's something else that I think is important to note too, is a lot of people don't understand. And since we're using this conversation as comps, let's say you paid $1,200 for that I think it was the gold PMG, right?
Oh, unfortunately I did.
Yeah. So, but what some people don't understand, when they're spending, $1,000 on a card, and then they decide, okay, I want to sell it. They don't understand that they may have been the only damn human being on earth that would spend the $1,000 on it. They're gonna want the 12 or 1,300 to cover their ass on the eBay fees and everything else, and get the $1,000 to break even on the card. But a lot of people don't. We're using the comp conversation here, but the next person to buy it might only give them half that. They may only pay them $500, and you can't say, "But it sold for 1,000." Who gives a shit? You were willing to spend 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
The next human on earth that would buy this card may only give you 50%. So you have to remember that. Just because you paid it doesn't mean the next guy will.
Yeah, that just, we've all said it, that you go to a show and you go up to someone and they have something on the table that you're interested in, and you start negotiating and their price is so ridiculous high, and say, listen, I understand, but I'm willing to give you $75. Yeah, I got more into it than that. I paid 200. That's not my problem.
Right.
You paid 200 during the pandemic. That was stupid. I'm willing to give you $75. No, sorry, I can't. Okay, well, nobody's going to give you 200 because it's not 2020 during a pandemic. So, do you want the $75 and I'll get this off your table? Or nope, can't, sorry, got too much into it. All right, well, you're never getting your $200 ever.
I've been trying to buy a Flacco off of a guy on eBay, and he's slowly been decreasing his price, but he's still twice as much as I'm willing to pay for it. And the only reason that I'm like, I offered him more than the last ones have sold, and I messaged him. I said, look, I'm not trying to lowball you, but here's what some recent solds are. I will give you this. I will give you more, just because I want it, but I'm not going to give you what you're asking.
Right.
And he probably bought it during the playoff run last year and is soaked underwater and doesn't realize that they're not going for that anymore.
Nope. My 2008 Jeep Grand Cherokee is not worth the same as when I bought it. So if I tried to sell it, I'm not getting, $30,000 for it. I'm getting like $6,000. No, I got too much into it. I've had repair bills over the years, thousands of dollars, taxes,
gas. You got to keep all the gas receipts.
Yeah, I mean, I paid $30,000 for it, back in 2008. I got more into it than that. No, your vehicle is worth $6,000. if you go to the car wash first.
Wow.
You know,
If you go to the car wash.
Yeah, you know.
And get the free vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah, if you vacuum it out, dust the dash, and get it washed, it's worth $6,000. No, I got too much into it. That's just not the way the world works. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I think it's fair. I think we will revisit this kind of conversation. We won't focus so much, hyper focus on one of ones. It was a good example because we had the discussion in the Discord. I think it was worthwhile. I think one more point that I'll quickly add here at the end, just kind of to include it in here as well, is that when it comes to this, we focused a lot of our attention on the idea behind someone, and I'm separating collector from investor, because if you're an investor or flipper or whatever you want to call it, well, then you do have to be really careful and cognizant, because in your mind, you're looking for an end user who isn't you. And when you're looking for an end user who isn't you, your price point needs to be lower to adjust and create that buffer, to create that zone. When I talked about the cards that I'm talking about, and I'm talking about paying the prices that I was talking about, it's like, I'm kind of the end user. My expectation is that I'm the end user. So as a result, I'm not as worried about it. I shouldn't be offering at all if I'm worried about that result. If I'm trying to looking down the road and going like, well, can I get out of this some way? Then I probably shouldn't be offering, because the likelihood is I'm not going to be able to. It's a niche cubed. Like, I'm asking a lot to find the next buyer who's gonna take it off my hands. Eric is banking on that Reggie Lemon money coming in soon. One day. It's gonna be that person. They're gonna be like,
that's
buy
why
me
he's
out.
buying all of them. That's why he's buying all the damn things.
He's cornering the market.
I'm waiting for Reggie's grandson to get a little older, because he's still too young. To get a little bit older, get a job, make some money, and he's gonna want to collect all his grandfather's stuff, and I have it all.
Eric,
bold move.
I'm kind of joking, but in a way, I also think this would be. Well, first, Reggie is still alive, right?
Yeah, he lives down the street.
I thought you were going to say he's in your closet, frozen in carbonite. Go on.
You should have him do stupid inscriptions on them, and then truly make them unique.
Oh.
Okay. I think that would be actually, I mean, it's still his autograph and he would be writing it. I think that would be cool, especially on the leprechauns and stuff like that. Yeah. I hate Lucky Charms.
I don't think Eric would like it, because what would happen is on the leprechaun, I'm just telling you right now, spoiler, it'd be like, this leprechaun is fucking sweet. that would be the inscription. And Eric would be like, no, Reggie, no.
It would be fun.
I'll think about it.
It would put a hell of a twist on, and then you could post them and tag Leaf and be like, "See, up your game, bitches."
Look at that
with pictures of Reggie actually writing it, so you have proof. Like, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So all I'll say is, and to your point from earlier, Brandon, one of my favorite things in the Chosen Rosen PC is that there's an eBay seller who's based out of Canada. And I don't know if they I don't know if they were owed money by somebody, but they basically have a Josh Rosen Super PC. And they have 124 distinct lots. And the thing is, every single one of the prices don't make any goddamn sense. Not a single one of them. I'm sitting there like, they have the Contenders Auto. The Contenders Auto. They've got it there for like 110 US. I paid $15. Yeah. And I'm sitting there like, $15
of Canadian
shipped. No, it was US. It was shipped.
Oh,
it was like, but they've got 110 US.
Yeah,
before shipping, and I'm like, sir, it's the base Contenders Auto, and I'm like, sir,
Rick James summed it up best. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
And I just sit there and I'm like, I literally have bought some of these for like $5. There's a cards on here for like $80-$100 that I have bought for $5. And I'm like,
know he's not getting a Hall of Fame induction?
I don't think they know anything. I'm deeply concerned. Like, I'm worried. I'm worried for my Canadian brethren here. I feel like, sir, we need to have a seat over some maple syrup and have a conversation. We need to have a talk. We need an intervention.
Someone needs to help that man.
someone needs to help this man. And I was like, and I enjoy kind of observing it and checking in from time to time. Like, nope, those prices haven't been adjusted. Not a penny. I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get it, but okay, whatever. So anyway, bottom line is that yes, it is very difficult to do. I think it's important though, if there's no other takeaway, a serious takeaway, is that with some of these more niche markets and even less niche markets, I think we need to remember that the collector will generally pay more. But at the same time, we also need to remember that those comps don't really work the way normal comps work. If you have a ton of buyers and it's commonly traded, then the comp kind of makes sense. That can work. That make it, yeah, okay, this is useful, a useful data point. But if you had taken my PMG purchase and try to extrapolate that to anything else, it's not going to help you. Like it's a worthless stat because I needed to find the number that would get this seller to send me the card. If I could have bought it for a third of that, I would have happily bought it for a third of that. I was willing to pay that price, but that's because I decided that I wanted the card more than I wanted the money. But that's not going to apply to anybody else.
You use hobby dollars, emotional, PC attachment, and knew a number in your head that made sense for you to add the card to your collection and scratch it off your checklist and have it in your collection.
Yeah.
It probably did not, that number probably did not make sense to a damn other person out there.
Oh, it doesn't. There isn't a single soul. And the reality is it will have no similar value to anybody else. And also, it only worked because I decided I wanted my centerpiece to be the complete set of the three. Red PMG, green PMG, gold PMG. I'm the only person who has a complete set, as far as I'm aware of any of the characters that I've seen. So I decided that was worth that to me. It is not worth that to any other living soul. So
yeah, I have plenty of cards that I've done that with. So, I mean, I get it. It's also kind of a nice thing. I think we all three kind of have a collection of players that aren't maybe the most popular or most sought.
What are you talking about? Josh Rosen is super popular. 124 lots, bro.
Apparently, $100 and some contenders autograph. Yeah, I mean, but no, I think
listen. It's 2018 in his life for the rest of time.
Yeah,
2018 never left us.
I think it not only makes it fun to hunt those players, because I mean, let's be real. Sometimes stuff gets stashed in boxes, and people are like, "I'm not wasting the time listing this." So it makes it fun hunting them, but it also, it's nice on the hobby budget. And if a 101 comes up, we can kind of decide what the hell do we want to pay for it.
Absolutely. So we'll wind her down on that because we've already gone into the dark waters. We've already gone into dark waters. I've decided we're gonna have one more black and white. We're gonna have a black and white segment here in a second, but that is it for this episode. Hopefully, I would love to get some engagement on this. Like, we talked through a lot of things. And again, we are speaking specifically our own experiences. Not all of us collect all the Reggies in the world. That's mostly Eric.
It's just me.
But nonetheless, hopefully you can understand the idea of the difference between the collector and someone who's looking for resale and that element of it. Hopefully you can also understand that our general point was that comps based on those things don't apply the same way that other comps may. That's the overarching point here. We wanted to give you a different perspective on that. And maybe if some of you have been listening this far, I would love to know if you've got a similar type of collection. Do you collect a player or a team or whatever? Do you have a similar thing that maybe you would be willing to quote unquote pay more than most people would be willing to because you just wanted your collection? And that's kind of the way. So almost comps are thrown out the window from the perspective of you're obviously willing to go further than someone else would in a similar type of situation or vein, because you're interested in that thing. It's us wanting that thing, as opposed to being like, oh, there's a million options. Then we can pick and choose. We'll look for bargains and all that. That's a different sort of collecting. We do that too. There's other categories where we're looking for bargains. Sometimes in our main collections or some of our ones we focus on, then we're willing to be a lot more aggressive. We're really going to push towards trying to get some of the pieces that we want for our respective collections, if that makes sense. Love to get your feedback on that. Do check out the silly card of the week. I will get that community post up on the channel. We appreciate the engagement on that, and feel free to comment on those. And also, if you got any other ideas, we'd love to do a couple of themed ones. That'd be kind of fun. If you guys have a theme, we can probably come up with something and find some categories that fit into it. At the moment, we're just making it up as we go along, but open to ideas and thoughts from the audience. Hit the like button for engagement. Eric enjoys it. I'm sending him the invoice. He's very excited every single time I send him the invoice, and this is a good time. Heading to September, October's around the corner. Spooky season's coming. The spookiest thing, more like buttons. Eric is terrified. More like buttons.
I don't like buttons. They're bad.
You'll get a 5% less mature version of this conversation on Friday nights. You can check that out on Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The longest running episodic, whatever it is, we don't know yet. We're working on it. We're going to try to figure it out. Carlos still has some scotch left, so we're going to move on from there. So for the regular podcast listeners, that is it for us. Check it out. Engage all the comments. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. For the audio folks, enjoy. You'll still get the bonus portion of it, but that's it for us. We're out. All right, bonus piece. All right, I want something from you guys. I want some predictions. We got so I think Jordan Love is going to be in for the next Packer game. Brandon, your team almost blew the lead. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but it's like your boys were working damn hard to blow that lead against the Dallas Cowboys. Man, what are we doing? What are we doing over
pissed.
there? What are we doing over there?
Pissed.
You got a 2-time MVP. If only you had a running game. If only you had a running game and a 2-time MVP.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is a Cowboy fan. My father-in-law was over. He's a Cowboy fan, and we were whooping their ass in the Discord. I literally told Wes at halftime, "Hey, don't panic. We were up pretty good last week," and then sure as shit, they just started shitting the bed. And I just said shit a lot of times, but yeah,
don't discount Dak Prescott, garbage time yards goat. Like, the man is a legend. The man will as soon as we got to that point, I was like, oh, this guy's going over 350 easy. 350 yards passing easy.
Has John Harbaugh gotten so old that his clock, like his watch, doesn't read 60 minutes? Like, is it a 45-minute watch that he has now for each hour? Because I don't get it. Like, why can we play great for 3 quarters and then don't understand there's a fourth quarter? I don't know. I will say this, though. You said something way earlier in this episode.
Sure.
You said we were amateurs. We were just amateur footballers. I would have you know.
You will have me know.
With my MASH unit of a fantasy football team, I won this week with the Dallas Cowboys defense giving me -1 points, with Justin Tucker missing a field goal for the 3rd straight week.
That's weird.
I still won. I had like 5th highest points in my league. I'm not an amateur. I'm lucky.
You're super lucky. Like, please, you were a super amateur. Look, you were so amateur. I'm even taking the AMG off for this. We're not associating AMG to this nonsense. No, absolutely not.
No,
I have to feel bad for the guy I beat. I mean, how in the hell do you get beat by that crap of a squad?
Well, that was my point when I was looking. So, Eric, the baseball fantasy that we have for the Discord, like, I genuinely haven't done shit on that. The last time I made any roster moves was putting Fishboy on IR. Whenever that was the last time I did anything on it. There were 3 people worse than me, including fucking Ham.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, delete your team. Delete it. Eric, delete it.
If Ham wasn't spending all his time hitting on my wife, maybe he'd be able to focus more on fantasy football and do better.
Dang. So the 3 people behind me are Ham, Dakota, and Brandon.
I forgot who was even on my team. I just realized, so Austin Riley's been on the DL for a long time. CJ Abrams has been sent down to AAA. I have a pitcher that's on the DL.
These teams are pathetic. These teams are pathetic, Eric. Like, they're truly pathetic. It's very sad.
I have an open bench spot, and I didn't even realize it.
I'm sure you do.
Look,
I'm sure you
empty.
do.
I didn't even remember. Wow.
So anyway,
I could actually pick a guy up.
Live the dream, buddy. Live the dream. So the point that I wanted to make here at the end, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is like, so Eric, I was very disappointed in the Mayo Men. I've decided to dub them the Mayo Men.
Yeah.
You know, led by the man of Mayo. But the point is that they had actually been playing okay. They had at least been fighting. That last game was sad. What's going on over there, man? What are we doing?
The first two games, like I reported, we were all shocked that they were competitive.
They fought hard. They were scrappy. I like the scrappiness.
And then they played New York, which, New York Jets have not beaten the Patriots in what seems like forever.
You lost to the darkness, though, man. The darkness.
The Patriots didn't, and not one player on the Patriots, except maybe the kicker. But actually, he may have missed something too. They all sucked. The coaching staff sucked. The players sucked. Offense, defense, special teams. Every single player showed up like they had food poisoning or something. They're absolutely horrible, and that's what we expected the team to look like. And then they showed up winning their first game. Should have won the second game, being ultra competitive, and then the third game. I mean, it was embarrassing. So, I don't know what's going to happen the next time they play. I don't know what team's going to show up, but they have this extended period now because they had the Thursday night game. We'll see if they can pull it together for next Sunday, because God, were they awful.
I think what's interesting, are we approaching, let me pose this question. Are we approaching, because I've noticed the last couple of years in particular have been like this. Are we approaching the wacky NFL again? Because the last couple of years there's been like, all right, we're commencing the wackiness. Hit the button. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what any of y'all are doing. I don't know what's happening week to week. I feel like we still don't have a lot of teams we can rely on to give us a consistent, look, do you think, honestly, as entertaining as it's been for me and as appreciative as I am, do you think I thought I would be getting 2 wins with Malik Willis?
No.
Well,
Am I questioning it? No, I am not questioning it. I feel like Matt LaFleur should be getting some Coach of the Year votes right now.
If
We're winning with Malik Willis. This is good. I'll take it.
Yeah,
I don't know if y'all are watching
I think
the
he's
scores.
going to win.
I haven't checked the score in a bit. What's going on with it?
I mean, the Bengals with Joe Burrow and stuff are about to go 0-3, and they played Washington, who is about to go 2-1 with a rookie quarterback who went 21 of 23 tonight. Talk about wacky.
Well, looking at the score though, it's even worse. Like, this is actually that game actually is the over. God damn. Eric, do you know what this? Did you see the score?
33.
Yeah, 38-33. Yeah.
Jesus.
And, I think I think the Bengals suck is because of what Joe Burrows has done to his hair and frosted his hair. And
you blame the haircut? Is the haircut? You know who's got that hair color? Cody Rhodes in WWE. So
Yeah,
in WWE, I think he's vanilla. I think he's vanilla toast. He bores the hell out of me, and I think this is hurting Joe Burrow.
Wait a second.
I didn't realize though. I didn't realize though. Buffalo put a freaking curb stomp on Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, that was ugly.
Like a curb stomp, man.
Hold on, can
Good
we?
Lord.
Joe Burrow needs to go dye his hair back.
We're in bonus time, Brandon. Go ahead. We're in bonus time. Go knock yourself out.
Can we just acknowledge that freaking the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, the ex-former Bengal, in his first game with the shit Panthers he's 1-0, and the Bengals are 0-3? Can we acknowledge that?
They need the Red Rifle back? Oh, good Lord.
I mean, that's got to feel good. Like your ex team is not even won, and you come on the shit squad, and you're
okay.
winning.
Look, Eric. I'm about to take Brandon's ridiculousness, and I'm going to take it up a notch. You ready for this?
Good.
We're going to do one better. We're going to do one better.
Okay, go ahead.
The Carolina Panthers are a dumpster fire in general.
Uh-huh.
Baker Mayfield went over to Tampa and became a viable starter. He was there in Carolina. Sam Darnold was in Carolina with Baker Mayfield,
Mhm.
and he went over to Minnesota, and they're 3-0. And all of a sudden, Darnold is having the resurgence. You know, we got all that going on. Well, Andy Dalton is like, hold my fucking beer. I will own with this fucking team.
Yep.
Beat that, bitches. And he just throws it down and just walks away.
And he doesn't
Dang.
even have to dye his hair to look like bright and red.
So you're saying the hair dyeing
Natural.
hasn't helped? It's not helping? It's not working? Nope. Mm-mm.
See,
No.
Andy Dalton could take his helmet off and still be a Cincinnati Bengal.
Right.
Yes, sure. Yeah, right.
His hair matches the uniform.
That is a thing. Yes. Okay. Mhm.
Burrow looks like a moron.
I
and,
appreciate your theory. That is a theory. You have posited a theory. Yeah, that's fair. It's reasonable. One more thing I thought was like I said, this past week has been. I didn't want to spend too much time in the NFL segment there at the beginning, but it's like this past week was wacky, man. I was watching a little bit of Red Zone. I was watching the Packers game. Obviously, I normally do Red Zone for most of it outside of the Packers game, but look, I had to watch the Dallas game, and I was watching it, and I was so entertained. I was loving it. I was kind of like, I'm enjoying this. Clearly not.
I was not.
I did enjoy, though, two things. So there were two things that stuck out to me. I didn't share this with you, Eric. Obviously, I shared it on the Discord. But two things stuck out. Somebody actually invoked 28-3 when the Ravens were up 28-6. So somebody actually brought up 20 because I think somebody was wearing a shirt, and that's where it came up. And I thought that was funny. But then there was also the situation where there was a person that actually, there was a meme basically that went around, and I knew it was going to happen because as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, it's fantastic. And I'm trying to see if I can find it here. And it was a meme of a Dallas Cowboy fan that had Timmy Two Hats, oversized, stupid looking hat.
Oh, wonderful.
He had the silly ass hat, but the look on his face was what sold it. It's what made it gold. I'm gonna see if I can find the image here. I gotta show it to you because it was too good. Hold on here. I will see if I can find it. Should be able to locate it. But yeah, you just imagine Timmy Two Hats hat. And I actually took a screen grab because of course the broadcast found it. If you're gonna wear a silly ass gigantic hat, guess what? The broadcast is gonna locate it. You're just asking for attention. And your team better not lose because you're gonna be the meme after that. Here we go, I found it. So after that, you become the meme, Eric. You don't want to be the meme. If you want to be the meme, then be this guy. Look at it. Look at it, Eric.
I don't want to.
You get to be the silly ass hat. You get to be the angry face. And there's the 28-6.
I do love the fact that Dallas is, having a shit sandwich. I'm enjoying that.
It's pretty rough. But I will say, that leaves us with a problem, man. So let's kind of finish on this thought, on our bonus coverage. So hopefully y'all enjoyed. All right. So have we figured out who's actually good? I'm not convinced. Like, I'm looking around and like, look, they're good performances. But the fact that the freaking Red Rocket with 3 touchdowns in a 300-yard game feels like the most dominant quarterbacking performance that I've seen through 3 weeks, basically. What are we doing here? Like, I've seen 4 touchdown games with sub 200 yards. I've seen highly efficient games. Like, efficient. Look, my man, Malik Willis, very efficient. Like, supremely. I'm not complaining, Eric. It's fine. I don't need you to throw for 400 yards. That's not your job. Throw a couple of touchdowns, 200 yards, win the game, control the game. I like it. I like what you did there. I'm a fan.
I'm going to go on
I feel
a
like
limb.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say the most impressive team right now. And there's several teams undefeated. But the most impressive team right now is, and I didn't think I would be saying this, but it's Minnesota. I mean, they beat,
Sam
they beat a quality
Darnold.
opponent, and they beat a quality opponent handily with the 49ers. And I mean, they're looking good. Will it continue? I don't know. They beat the Texans 34-7. They beat the 49ers 23-17. And who they have? Well, the Giants, that was a gimme. That was their practice session to figure out, get on the same page.
Well, the Giants won this week.
Yeah, but I would have to say they're the most impressive. There's some teams I would say is surprising, like the Steelers. I am not a Steelers fan. I didn't expect them
Washington.
to be 3-0.
That's 2-1.
They're surprising, yeah. But I would have to say overall the most impressive would have to be Minnesota so far.
All right.
I mean, hell, 49ers they've been in the Super Bowl, what Eric says, like 5 years in a row.
Well, according to Eric, they've been in Super Bowl like the last 10, 15 years in a row. It's just every year they're in the Super Bowl.
That is correct.
So it's funny you mentioned that because September 29th, 1 p.m. Eastern time, be there. Vikings, Packers. Boom. We're going to have to see now. This is going to get interesting because is Malik Willis going to start that or is Jordan Love ready? Because he was getting close. So we'll have to see. Look, this is going to be interesting because I'm just going to state this and I just want this to be a thought to percolate. The Packers are still trying to figure out their situation. The Malik Willis thing the last 2 weeks has been a lot of fun. But obviously Jordan Love hasn't been able to play for a couple of weeks. So we're going to see. The Vikings are going to be very motivated to win this game because it allows them to take control of the division. It allows them to do a lot of things. Imagine the psychological damage, though. If the Packers, like Jordan Love is like, all right, hold on. I've healed up enough. I am ending this nonsense. and they just be, the Vikings already have a complex. They have several complexes. At the moment, like the Packers have bullied them and the Bears for many a year and the Lions for many a year. And they're like, all right, we're finally, the evil, the darkness man is gone. And then Jordan Love at the end of last season was playing well. So it's like, all right, we'll see. It's like now they have to fear either Malik Willis or Jordan Love.
I said that they're impressive, but I think Minnesota should just always wake up every morning and the first thing they should do is remind themselves that they have Sam Darnold at quarterback. Just
Brandon, why you gotta be like that? I still have a Sam Darnold RPA that I can offload. I just need a believer. I need one or two believers. I need one or two believers, and that's all I need. All right, last thing we'll say before we finish off. Eric, last word goes to you. All right, how long until we get the Drake May era? Has it started? Is it about to start? Is it starting soon? When are we starting?
I don't think the team's good enough to have him. He played the end of the game the other day. He didn't.
I saw that. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. But the whole.
But he was also getting destroyed.
And if you remember me talking in the past, the Patriots have sucked the last couple of years, and the number one of reason is the offensive line. They killed Mac Jones. They killed Bailey Zappi. Those guys have been run out of town. Now you got, Brissett and May. And guess what's happening? They're getting wrecked. Until the Patriots get an offensive line that can protect a quarterback in this league, this is what's going to continue to happen. You can't run. You can't throw. Your quarterbacks are getting sacked and injured. It's been a problem for the last three or so seasons. And until they do something about it, nothing's going to improve. I still think Mac Jones is a really good quarterback if you give him the time to play the position and he's not running for his life and get gun shy. And Mac Jones must have been waking up in the middle of the night in cold sweats, just screaming, having nightmares of people trying to kill him. So, I was
about to say that. I was about to say that. It sounds like you're describing. Are you describing Mac Jones or are you describing yourself?
Yeah, but
Reggie and the Leprechauns.
My nightmares are for different reasons.
But I was saying, waking up in the middle of the night, screaming that you think people are after you. Like I'm just saying, there's the comps are there, the similarities are there. It's all I'm trying to get at. There's some similarities.
The last four Patriots quarterbacks are just getting destroyed because there's no one protecting them, and you can't make the passes if you don't have the appropriate amount of time.
All I'm saying is that Brandon, all I need is the football gods to hear Eric's words. I just need one little Mac Jones run because I got that RPA I got on the cheap. I just need one little Mac Jones run. Let's go. Let's go.
I mean, I think you might see him because Trevor Lawrence isn't doing
He's
it.
playing like trash. He's getting destroyed.
So,
yes.
They literally have a Pro Bowler sitting on the bench. They might as well bring him out and give him a shot.
So you're saying there's a good chance I may see Trevor Lawrence in 8W because they're like, we got to get some value out of you.
Yeah.
The Khan family owns the Jacksonville Jaguars and AEW. So they're like, well, you suck at football. Maybe you're good at wrestling.
I actually understood that reference when you said it.
That's right. There you go. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed our amateur hour little football segment there in the black and white segment. Don't expect it every week. But in this case, I had a couple of things we wanted to make sure we talked about. So pray for Brendan's Baltimore Ravens to actually play a fourth quarter. That'd be good.
We got Buffalo this week.
Well, coming off the curb stomping, I don't know if you want Buffalo. Do you want Buffalo right now? They're looking pretty good, man. Pretty strong.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Like, it's not going to get any easier. So
I was going to say, geez. Packers are going to get Minnesota, so that should be a legit test. I'll be curious to see what configuration they decide to go. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see what they end up going with. Look, and last thought that I want to give for myself, I don't know how I feel about, the Jets trying to get the resurrection of the darkness. I think we need to slow our roll a little bit. Look, I just need him to get smacked around a little bit. That'd be kind of fun. At the end of the day, do what you're going to do. But it's like, do we want the darkness to have too much joy, Eric? I don't know about that. No. If you find him got slapped around a little bit and went back to the darkness. But anyway, that's just me. All right, folks, there's a little bonus there for you at the very end. Again, ignore us. We have no idea what we're talking about. Nope. Otherwise, hopefully you enjoyed a lot of the content previously. And this is the end. We'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks, everybody.